Excellent. All right. So first we're going to cover the recent, something that just happened very recently. It actually happened yesterday with RFK Jr. So let me jump right into that. This is episode number 24 on a different channel because, well, you know what happens. Um, we still have a strike on my other channel. Medical misinformation once again. But this is what I want to talk about here. And there's some good reasons why we need to talk about this and continue to talk about this. This is what happened. RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., posted this on September 15th, 2023. And I'll just read a little bit of it here. I'm very grateful that alert and fast-acting protectors from Gavin DeBecker and Associates spotted and detained an armed man who attempted to approach me at my Hispanic heritage speech at the Wilshire Ebel Theater in Los Angeles tonight. The man wearing two shoulder holsters with loaded pistols and spare ammunition magazines was carrying a U.S. Marshal badge on a lanyard and belt-clip federal ID. He identified himself as a member of my secret detail. He identified himself as a member of my security detail. Armed GDBA team members moved quickly to isolate and detain the man until LAPD arrived to make the arrest. I'm also grateful to LAPD for its rapid response. I'm still entertaining a hope that President Biden will allow me Secret Service protection. I am the first presidential candidate in history to whom the White House has denied a request for protection. And then here is that photo of this douchebag here. This is the guy. So I don't know what's going on. This is crazy. He's got an EMT, EMS. This looks like someone you would see at a Antifa or a BLM riot / protest. And thank God they got this guy because, this is craziness. This guy he was carrying a U.S. Marshal badge. It doesn't look like it looked like this was an open carry thing. You can kind of see the holster straps if this is, related, this photo. But this dude needs to be identified, not only identified, but, oh, good. So they got it. So let's read. There is a Breitbart article. Got to read this because this is just so crazy. This is so crazy. I'm going to go to this Breitbart article, and hopefully this tab will be sharing instead of the one I have. I'll wait a few seconds to see if that's the case. It sure is. So let's read through this. I'll make this a little bit bigger because who is this guy and why would you do something very, very stupid like this? Now, obviously, if he's posing as a U.S. Marshal and he's not, that's a big, big deal. So this is from Breitbart, the exclusive armed man arrested at Robert F. Kennedy Jr. event in L.A. Thank God. Thank God that someone is covering this too, because I haven't heard anything about this. And I'm going to play a short 3-minute clip later on of RFK Jr. talking about something similar to some of the death threats and some of the other things that he's been dealing with. I probably should need to plug in my laptop here. And then I will read a little bit of this article. All right. Here. Okay, all plugged in. All right, let's read through this. Los Angeles, California. This is by Joel Pollack, September 15, 2023. An armed man was detained by security and later arrested by police before the start of an event with Democratic presidential contender Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on Friday evening with the Hispanic community in Los Angeles. According to sources, the man arrived at the event and claimed to be an employee by the organizers. Campaign security officials, however, did not recognize him and detained him until police arrived. The man was found to be carrying a handgun and ammunition. He will likely face charges of impersonating a police officer or federal agent and possibly unlawful possession of firearms, according to Breitbart News sources. The Kennedy campaign is sensitive to security concerns given the tragic history of the Kennedy family. President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in 1963, and Senator Robert F. Kennedy, the current candidate's father, was assassinated in 1968 in Los Angeles, shortly after winning the California Democratic presidential primary. In July, Kennedy noted that the Biden administration had denied him Secret Service protection despite the fact that he had requested it from the Department of Homeland Security and had extensively documented the need for it. Kennedy is gaining on President Joe Biden in some polls, so he still trails overall by a wide margin. Many Democrats say they would like to vote for a candidate other than the incumbent. That means they would like to vote for somebody else other than Joe Biden. Great. And that's all that needs to be said. Love these short articles. There it is right there. Great article by Joel Pollack. And with that, I'm going to go back to this. We need to know more about who this guy is. This guy needs to be completely exposed. And these will be public documents, so that it should be pretty easy to get the police records to find out who this guy is, who is he tied with. I can already guess some of the sources of where this guy is tied with. By the tattoos, you know they do speak volumes too. But the guy is wearing a emergency medical services shirt too, so he's got the whole EMS shirt thing going on. Something very strange is going on here. Now, as you'll notice, this is not the only time. This is not the first time something like this has happened with RFK Jr. And so I will play a little bit of those clips. But I want to see if there's anything else in the I think that's RFK's only comment as far as I know, or the post usually. And I don't know anything about Twitter, but you can usually see here he posted that. I don't see anything else that he's responded to since then. But this is crazy, and this is exactly what this is worst case scenario. At least they caught the guy. He didn't get in, but we definitely need to know more about this. The police reports will show a lot more. So I'm going to look into that and how we can get the police report about that, about what happened. I need to understand a little bit more about where this was, and I'm sure we can find out what county, who booked him, et cetera, and we can find out what this guy was up to, what his intentions are, who he's connected to, and this will not be the last of this. So thank God nothing happened. Everything worked out okay. The guy was not allowed into the front door. And this may have just been some type of test. Somebody may have been testing to see what type of security RFK Jr. has at a Hispanic heritage thing in Los Angeles, right? In the same city where his dad was killed. California, I mean, I know he's going to do a lot in California because he lives in California. So I know there's going to be a lot of that. The Beverly Hills thing, I'm sure we all felt a lot safer for him with that. But, and these are more like, I guess these are more private speakings is what it sounds like, because they're not advertised like President Donald J. Trump's ones are, and they're not as big either. But they are really interesting crowds. And when they allow the people in the audience to ask questions, you get some real town hall questions, no softball questions, really. A lot of angry people that I've seen in some of RFK Jr.'s town halls. Good stuff there. So just wanted to cover that briefly because, like I said, this is worst case scenario. And so I know that there will be more follow-up on that. I know Breitbart, it sounds like, is where we're going to learn more. And that's interesting, too, because I was going to go back. But you know what? Before I do that, speaking of Breitbart, there was a show. When did this happen? Hopefully I put the date on this one. I didn't date all of these. But, okay, I didn't date that one. So I think it was maybe, I want to say a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago. Hopefully not that far back. RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was on a show with called Fearless with Jason Whitlock, who is a famous sports player. Apparently, my dad knows a lot about him. I had to ask my dad who this guy was. He seemed very cool, very articulate. This is a 3-minute clip here with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking just about that. So I'm just going to play this.
And
let me move to this. I wanted to ask you, I saw 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I read it on your Twitter feed and I was like, oh my God, they won't give this man Secret Service? Are you, that's outrageous to me. Is that still the case that you're not?
I was surprised about that, but because I mean, I get death threats all the time. I get, my family history is, it speaks for itself. I guess 3 weeks ago, I had a mentally ill person make it to the second story at my house. I had a speech that I was giving this week in South Carolina, almost shut down because of death threats. And so, clearly I should be getting it. In fact, there's never been, the media has lied about what the rules are. The media says, well, he's not entitled to Secret Service because you only get Secret Service 120 days out from the election. But what the law says is you get it 120 days out from the election automatically. And that law was passed after my father was assassinated, because originally they only gave it to once you got the nomination. Now you get it everybody gets 120 days out if they pass certain metrics, like more than 15% of polling for 30 days. And then my uncle was given it. My uncle Teddy was given it by President Carter. I think 551 days out. And my uncle Teddy wasn't even running at that point. But Carter and he had this tremendous antipathy for each other, and Teddy ended up running against him. But Carter was a classy guy, and gave it to Teddy. Obama got it about, I think, 500 days out. John McCain was offered it 551 days out. Jesse Jackson got it. Shirley Chisholm got it. Well, you go down a list, and it's 30 or 40 candidates have gotten it further out than me. And the White House, as we gave them a 67-page document, including the threats and all of the documentation about why I deserved it. I'm the first presidential candidate in history that meets the metrics that requested Secret Service protection and was denied. The president has the ability to give anybody Secret Service protection. John Bolton has it. There are many people who work for Hunter Biden has it. People who work for the government, or people who have associations with the government who have long ago retired and continue to get it. And so, it's odd. It's an odd choice for President Biden to decide not to give it to me.
It definitely is. It definitely is a very, very odd choice. And just go back here. Yeah, it's an odd choice for him, and that's a polite way. That's a nice way of saying what some of us would like to say about all of this. It's just nuts, man. So thankfully, nothing happened. The guy never got that close to RFK. The few things, obviously, that I would like to know, and I'm sure you would too, is who is this guy? Was he? We know that he was armed. Was he concealed carry? Is he licensed to carry in the state of California? Who is he? And why is he posing as a U.S. Marshal? And then also at the same time wearing a EMS shirt with all these tattoos and everything. Like, it's gonna be pretty easy to figure out who this guy is and what was going on. So the police report is the next thing, and there should be some follow up, because usually RFK, he doesn't talk about this stuff. He talks about it a little bit. Yeah, it's had some threats, and there's a crazy guy who made it to the second floor of my house, things like that. But that's really it. But he doesn't ever really go into detail. So for him to post this on Twitter, to me, does stand out. It makes it a little bit different, as if this was a little more serious. And what I'd like to know is, was the guy concealed carrying, or was it just open carry? Because if it's open carry and he's walking in there like that, it just sounds like a big test run, and he is expecting to get arrested so that they can identify who Kennedy's security detail is and find out more about them. Because up until now, we haven't really heard who is guarding Kennedy at this point. Now we have names. Now they have an actual company. So does that put RFK Jr. in a compromising spot? I'm not really sure, but I'm very curious to see what they find out about this guy. And I don't know. I hope for the best, obviously, but it's just really, really crazy. Hey, Dark Docs, how are you, my friend? I was just going through just what we know so far about what's going on. You're free to jump on if you want to jump on. If you got a couple minutes, definitely welcome to. I'm just, I don't know. I'm really, really frustrated about this whole thing, and I'll just drop the link here. I'm using this channel. I usually don't use this channel for this, but obviously I have some issues on my other channel, and it's they got John Kennedy, they got Robert Kennedy, and now Robert F. Kennedy Jr. How much more are we going to see this leading up to these primaries, which start in March of 2024? And so we got months, right? We got what, October, November, December, January, February. I mean, there's like 6 months here, and there's already been death threats. There's already been people, a crazy guy inside of RFK Jr.'s home, and now we have this at this speaking, at a heritage speaking, a Hispanic heritage speaking, and the guy, I mean, the guy does kind of look. Let me go back here if I can show this or not. But the dude, I don't know, does he look Hispanic to you? Kind of looks Hispanic to me. We're going to find out everything we can about this guy. If anyone's going to be doxxed, it's going to be this dude. And it's all not really doxing, because it's just public. It's just going to be public data. Who this guy is, what he was doing there. The tattoos are definitely going to tell a whole story. Even the glasses, right? There's a weird pyramid on the glasses. Are these those glasses that have cameras on them too? I can't really tell. Dark Docs can probably fill in that one. They may know more than me about that type of stuff. But the whole thing is just weird. It's just really, really odd to show up and identify yourself as a U.S. Marshal with the badge, in a lanyard and a belt clip federal ID. I mean, this to me just looks like your classic test run. That's what it looks like to me. All right, so that's all I know about that for now, but I wanted to cover that. I've only seen one news article, Breitbart, covering it, and we'll see what happens with it. We'll see where it goes from there. But that is the latest on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Because this all kind of stemmed from, and this was another thing. It's like, wow, I don't know if you should actually let people know that the Secret Service has denied your request, but that's what happened on July 28, 2023. And this is the campaign manager, Dennis Kucinich, said, remember this is July 28, 2023, the American people, no matter their politics, will find this decision shocking and repugnant. This is obviously a political decision, not a legal one. As such, this is directly on President Biden. It is absolutely implausible that the president would try to claim that he was not consulted by his cabinet secretary on a matter as sensitive as this. President Biden is now to be held responsible. President Biden is now to be held personally accountable for denying Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Secret Service protection. The Biden administration has clearly politicized the once independent Justice Department and security apparatus. All right, and before I get going too much more, I'm going to bring Christian in here. Christian, how are you, my friend? Can you hear me all right?
Good timing. I just checked into a hotel. I'm doing a bit of traveling this weekend, and yeah, I saw that you were online. So I don't know anything about this assassination attempt. Give me the 5-second version.
Sure.
What's going on?
So what basically happened is RFK Jr. was at a speaking in Los Angeles yesterday at a Hispanic heritage speaking, and this guy shows up apparently with 2 gun holsters with 2 armed guns, and he's got like some ammo too, and he has a lanyard, a federal marshal, a U.S. Marshal lanyard on, and you can see in that clip that I show, or in the photo, he also has. Let me see if I can go back to it, but he also has a EMS shirt on too. So this guy is all over the place here. Let me see if I can go back to that. Hopefully you can see this here. But if you look at this, and I'll just go on the photo. But he's got a EMS. He's all tatted up here. He's got these weird glasses. I was going to ask you, do these glasses look like those spy glasses or anything like that?
No, none that I see. I don't see a little pinhole anywhere for a camera or anything, unless it's behind the lens, which is, pretty exotic if it is spy glasses.
So he was trying to get in to the and I don't know where this place is, but I'm definitely going to find out, because I need to find out, and I'm sure we can get the actual police reports and all that stuff. The Wilshire Ebel Theater in Los Angeles. So this guy tried to get into that, posing as if he was part of the security detail. And so the last that we know is he was held by, and this is the other thing. This kind of bothers me too, because now they know, the people that are going after RFK Jr., the people that I believe really want to take him out, now they know who is protecting him. And it's kind of a weird thing for RFK. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but do you tell people who your security detail is? Because up until last night, people have been asking him, okay, well, who's guarding you? Then he's like, I'm not giving away that. I'm not going to tell you guys that.
Well, yeah, last I heard, he was trying to get the DNC or the White House. I'm not sure the channels you go through when you're a presidential candidate, but it was all over the news that he was trying to get Secret Service detail and he got declined.
That's right. That's right.
So I imagine he had to go private sector. But typically emergency services personnel, they're not armed. That's highly unusual for him to have sidearms and be brandishing in California. Only law enforcement, like actually on-duty law enforcement, or like private security. I don't even think in California private security is allowed to have. I don't know their gun laws over there, but it's my understanding that they're pretty strict, and unless you're law enforcement or military in California, you don't have a sidearm. I mean, you live there. You might know better than me.
No, you're definitely right on point. And that's why, I was like, okay, was this guy, he couldn't have been concealed carry. So he's walking up to the
even door. The Grove, they were mentioning, I remember in one of your videos that like you and Brendan saw armed Bohemian Grove security, and you were like, "Oh, that's really unusual," because even for the Grove to have armed security in California.
Right, right. And if you do that, it has to be open. Like you have to be able to see it unless you have a concealed carry license. And so if this guy is just wearing a t-shirt with the two gun holsters, I mean,
Yeah,
who
he's
does that?
brandashing.
It's
Is what he's doing.
crazy. So what? I mean,
Yeah.
what? I mean, it just seems like this guy is sent there for a test run, and they want to run a test. They want to test.
It makes me think that he's like to have that audacity that he's like he knew he was going to be protected. I'm curious to see like, so was this guy arrested? What happened?
Yes, yeah. So he
Okay.
was taken into custody. So that's what I got to research next is to find out who took him in. We know it was obviously LAPD, but there's different branch. We need to know exactly where he was booked, et cetera, et cetera. What is the public data, and then try to request that. Try to request the police reports if there's any body cam footage, anything like that, and what this guy was doing there, and how is he going to say, "Oh yeah, I was just showing up," or I just wanted to watch RFK speak.
And then the hand and neck tattoos, not to discriminate. I mean, I got a bunch of crazy ink, but like especially like beyond the wrist and like above the neck, that's like typically affiliated or like ex some sort of military. Usually doesn't always mean that, but that's pretty hardcore ink. I'd like to definitely learn more. What's this guy's name?
That we don't have yet. That we don't have the name as far as I know, but I would love to get that name. So and all I can see is on the hand is that it says free. So I'm sure, I don't know what's on the other hand, but I can't tell like what's on the back of his palm. I don't know if you can read that or not either.
Yeah.
And it looks very similar to whatever is on his neck. It looks like at least the same person, the same style on the neck, on the back of the palm. But if the guy has it on his fingers on one hand, he probably has it on the other. And he could have wore gloves. He could have covered up. It looks like a t-shirt to me. So he may, and it looks like he's got arm tats. So I don't know. It's just, this whole thing is just really, really odd, especially showing up with the dark glasses like that. The full beard.
He looks really intense. I mean, he looks like, just in the photo, it's really like someone snapped him in the middle of him, like, running his mouth about something.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you look at the glass, I know it's hard to see from on the screen.
Oh, his eyes are like wide open. He's like, he's jacked up.
He's jacked up. You can actually see two of the security guards in there too. So you can see that in the actual glasses there. So he's talking with two people, and I don't know, maybe one of them snapped a photo of him or something. But this is strange, and you can see the chain. So that must be where the lanyard is. And I don't know how U.S. Marshals. I don't know. Do they wear lanyards? It seems a little
sometimes.
Weird.
Yeah.
Belt clip federal ID, and he
identified. I mean, it's hard to even have standards these days, because I've seen like federal agents, federal marshals, Secret Service, like wearing cargo shorts and like just a blank white T-shirt, and then they'll pull out the badge out of their pocket. Like they look like anybody, like there's no real tell on. They've become very casual, I guess you could say, at a lot of events and things.
Interesting. Yeah, so I'll definitely I'll definitely be following up on that to see what else we can learn, what else we know about this guy.
But the fact that they didn't come out with his name right away, like think about what if the same situation, same guy showed up at a Biden event. Forget about it. Like it would have been, they would have used his middle name too, because they always use first, middle, last, and that his name would have been all over all of the news. But the fact that I'm curious to see, has any news outlets, this happened yesterday, do we have any Fox News, MSNBC reporting on this? Because this is posted by Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yeah, he's doing his own news
Yeah,
press
he's like boots on the
media.
ground running for president, reporting on the news.
There was one, and this was actually, of course, he had to share the link. So I don't know if you and I haven't done this yet, but if I just run a search about what happened, maybe we'll find out more. Now here is if you could see the screen, this guy is not. He shows that he's he's in a full so he
Yeah,
has
he's
long sleeve
tacticaled
shirt
out.
on.
He got the mustard boots on, and
That's crazy with the EMS. So he's identified. He's wearing an actual EMS shirt. He has
but you
a
can get that. I mean, you can get that at like Army surplus,
right, but he's got a
Goodwill,
US,
whatever.
and you can create a US Marshal lanyard pretty much anywhere nowadays too. But
Yeah,
then the third thing is he walks up and he identifies himself. He says that he's part of the Kennedy security team. I mean, so he has three different stories here. That's pretty weird.
yeah.
How do you get three different stories here? You just, well, hey, I'm here. I got this nice shirt on, and I'm also a U.S. Marshal, and I'm also here because I'm helping out with the Kennedy security team. It doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
because he has multiple stories makes me think that he might just be a lone nut. Maybe somebody that is, this is LA, so who knows, but maybe
That's
it's
correct.
somebody that, is totally all in on, oh, the COVID shots work. This guy's an anti-vaxxer. He killed my grandmother, whatever,
Oh, I didn't think of that.
He could
Okay.
be like a leftist that also maybe doesn't like Biden, whatever, but like maybe one of these like radical leftists that, I mean, not to profile or whatever. I mean, but he is Hispanic. This
Right? He
is
does look Hispanic, right? He does.
definitely, which doesn't mean anything. I'm Hispanic, doesn't mean anything.
But
But
it's just the timing, especially with the
yeah,
Hispanic Heritage Month, and then
yeah,
this is
that
at one.
just
He's
started. I
speaking
don't know.
at that. It's great. I don't even know what that is. We're
By the
halfway in the
way,
month.
as a Hispanic, and I
Yeah.
mean, you're a Fernandez. Why does Hispanic Heritage Month start like more than halfway into the month? Is it because like as Hispanics we're late for everything, so
I was
we
gonna
only get
ask
like half the month? Like
because we're always pretty much lazy, so
I
we'll
looked
just
on the
start a bit
Google
after.
Maps and like everybody else's month is whatever the first of the month, but ours is like what, like the 16th or something. Like no
Well,
one
that
else
could
has
be
that.
that could be us trying to cheat the system because then technically we get 2 months. You start on the 15th and we go to October 15th. So we got 2 months here. So, it makes no sense. The whole
Sketchy. I
it
don't like
is
it.
very sketchy. The whole
Getting
Hispanic.
a month anyway is a weird thing. I've always thought it's silly for everyone to have a month. Like
Yeah,
relax.
yeah, it's dumb. It's really dumb. I don't need a month. Let's just if
Yeah. You
you
can keep
want to
it.
talk, yeah, you can
Oh,
keep
and then the
keep
blacks
your
have the shortest month of the year. That's not by accident.
I'd never thought of that. You're right. February. Yeah.
It's their only month with 28 days.
It starts on the first. But ours doesn't.
Yeah, at least they get a whole month. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's too much, man. I didn't even think about that. Mind blown here. So yeah,
Yeah.
so this is the only article that I was able to find here about it. But yeah, you're right. He's all camoed
On
out
Breitbart.
on Breitbart. Yeah, he's got the
Tip of the
backpack.
spear, I tell you.
It's crazy. Breitbart is, I mean, it's just weird. It just feels like, I don't know what your thoughts are on this or how closely you've been following the Kennedy Trump thing either, but it just feels like the way what RFK Jr. is doing is just he threw a wrench in this whole plan where it was just like it just seemed like it was going to be Trump and it was going to be Biden and then here comes RFK Jr. and just is exposing the DNC left and right
Yeah.
without doing much and suing Google
Well, I mean,
right now.
it's always good, like, to have these kind of like third candidates, whether it's third party or not, because when they are going for the DNC or the RNC and they're not the guy, it exposed that system. Bernie Sanders, example, the left, Ronald as a Republican, that they're not the establishment guys, and I'm still skeptical about RFK Jr. I like a lot that he says, but let's face it, he's a Kennedy, he's a Catholic, he said time and time again he's for globalism, just anti pharmaceutical industrial complex. And I like John C. Dvorak from No Agenda, his analysis. They call him Bobby the Op. That the way he sees it is that the CIA went to RFK early on during all of this when he was going to run and be like, look, these guys don't want you. Most of the deep state, most of the Democrats are for the, pharmaceutical industrial complex. CIA either killed JFK or they, a theory that John has, which I think is kind of out there, is that the mafia killed JFK, but the CIA couldn't stop it. So they had to come up with a cover up in order for them to not look like a bunch of assholes that allowed the president to get shot on their watch. So I still like the idea of George Herbert Walker Bush and Bohemian Grove and all of that, trying to get rid of JFK. He wouldn't sign Operation Northwoods with L.L. Lemonster, Bay of Pigs, CIA. There's a lot of reason there. But I think at this juncture, you have the pharmaceutical industrial complex eating the CIA's lunch, because the CIA are the guys that bring in all the drugs and all that and flow them into the streets and then get all of the minorities to go into the privatized prison system. And they had a nice thing going until fentanyl came by. And now that we got the fentanyl, you got the Chinese and the pharmaceutical companies eating the CIA's lunch, because now they don't need the opium poppy operations and all of that stuff. So it's an interesting concept that the CIA is like, hey, RFK, we're sorry about your uncle. We're sorry about your dad. We'll make good, and we'll get you into the we'll do our best to get you into the White House. And, you can have your big win against Pfizer and, kind of the push back against all of like this, like the medical tyranny stuff and seem like a hero, when at the same time, now that those guys are out of the way, we can have business as usual and continue to bring in the heroin and stuff. I don't know. What do you think about that theory?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's
Wild,
some really
right?
great. It is. It really is wild. But the wildest theory is the one that they try to push down people's throats and tell us that is truth and that's it, and there's no in between. And JFK was murdered.
That's never the right one. That's whatever. Like, oh yeah, it's on the TV. Oh, Lockheed Martin said. It's like, okay, that's not the one.
Right. I mean,
it's something way weirder. And then you're gonna have a bunch of false, really, off the wall, like lasers and reptilians and stuff and whatever.
I've seen a few of those. I've seen a couple of time travel ones too. So.
Yeah, time travel. I love the book from the 1800s, The Last President, about Baron Trump being the last president.
Yes,
that's a wild. That book's legit. Like, it's old.
It really?
It's it's a real old book. Like, where it talks about there's going to be the stolen election and so many things that actually happened were in this book, The Last President.
I got to find that. I got to get a physical copy because I love books. I love reading. I love.
Yeah, I think I have the PDF.
Really? Yeah. Okay. Well, if you have the PDF on darkdocs.com or just have it separately.
Maybe. If not, I'm going to make sure to put it up there this week.
I might to read that
on hard drive.
Okay. And I did put the link if anybody does want to check out. There's some great
being
stuff
shared a lot with the whole. Oh, yeah. John McAfee, when his dead man switch went off on Telegram and a bunch of shit was pouring out, that was one of the things that was shared on that Telegram group, which got kind of weird. And I was like, yeah, it got really like QAnon-y, which I know QAnon isn't a thing. There's Q, then there's Anon, this and that. But there is QAnon because there is an op aspect, whether Q's an op or Anonymous is an op. Like it got really like super, when they start overusing the Pepe memes and stuff like that constantly, it's like, someone's controlling that. That's not grassroots no more.
Do you think that it's kind of like the Skull and Bones? And I'm sure hopefully you've seen the movie The Good Shepherd. Have you ever seen that movie? With
you get to see.
Oh, I think you're cutting out.
That's awesome. That's a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting movie, and one thing that it really made me focus on is, what they like. You've said this, and I know a lot of other people said that they play both sides. So they're playing both sides. They're handling the misinformation and the disinformation to make sure. So that's why when you have
then there's the malinformation, which is the most dangerous. Yeah, because that's information that's legit. It's real. Like Dark Docs is technically malinformation. I can see that. Because that's what they consider us, because it's like there's no lie. I mean, we have conjecture from time to time or satire, but it's pretty rare. Like if we say something, the evidence has been beaten to death, and then we're happy to kind of go over all of it. But even though it's correct information, it's the intent behind it. And that's the problem they have with. So it's like, once they introduced that, I mean, that's it. Now that showed where they're at mentally. That they're like, we know you're right, but you're not allowed to say that.
Isn't that crazy?
That's when we win. That's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I had never heard that term until RFK Jr. Was at the congressional hearing, and that's what he said.
Yeah, they're weaponizing it against him because they know he's right. He has the documents, he has the charts, he has the studies for all of this stuff. Everything he's saying, he has folders and shit. He's ready to present at any given time. And they were like, that's really annoying to them. They don't like that at all.
It was crazy. He was at a censorship hearing, and the first thing the Democrats tried to do was censor him from participating in that hearing.
Then even worse, gaslight him and say, we're not trying to censor you. We're just going to make sure that you don't speak.
Okay.
What? All right.
These guys are nuts. And he just like, for me as a Trump guy, you can see I got the Trump poster right there. It's just like he is so good at just getting them to expose themselves. And I see RFK Jr. He's good at that too. He's like, man, these guys, they're exposing themselves. The DNC, like you said, what happened with Bernie Sanders, and that could have been a big part of why Hillary lost and why Trump won, because the Bernie Sanders people were like, dude, this whole thing.
RFK is going to do the same thing. Of course, he's not going to get a majority of the votes. I just don't see it. But I do see him getting maybe 15 to 20%, which is enough to hurt the DNC doesn't like Biden. Most of the Democrats think he's an embarrassment. And they all don't want to talk about it, about his daily flubs and falling downstairs and falling asleep at Maui after, no comment at first and then showing up 13 days later. And it's just not a good look. His son, the whole thing with Hunter Biden, I mean, that's blowing up in their faces. Ashley Biden's journal, that stuff is they tried to brush it under the rug and call it Russian disinformation, but that's come out in the mainstream media now that no, we were right all along. Dark Docs was right all along. The New York Post was right all along. The Hunter Biden laptop is legitimate, and we knew it because we looked through it right when we got it, when Giuliani released it to the public. And then we got even more files later on. It wasn't a complete archive, but it was a lot of it. And we have all those videos of Hunter Biden smoking crack and with underage girls and having sexual encounters while doing drugs. And why does he have the Finger Lakes tattooed on his back? That's a place where a lot of children are missing. That's an unusual thing to have tattooed on your back, especially with your family and what they're involved in. And so it goes on and on. Big guy gets 10%, all the Burisma stuff. So it's not just, him being sketchy and doing drugs and the firearm, while on drugs and lying to federal agents and lying on forms and doing all that stuff. But how he was gaining money from his father's influence as vice president, and more and more people see that it's very likely that they stole the election and all that. And it's very showing that like Owen Schroyer is getting 60 days, all these Proud Boys and stuff. My heart goes out to all these families. Like you have parents that are going to jail for 15 to 22 years that have daughters that they haven't even met yet because their wife was pregnant when January 6th happened. I almost went there, and I wouldn't have stormed the Capitol. I would have just been there outside filming and probably hanging out with InfoWars and being like, hey guys, 1776, but don't go in the building. This is a trap. This is very obviously, I've been in protests for so long, and it's always the same flank strategy. They have all the cops that push you into one little plaza, and then they say it's illegal to be in that plaza, but they've barricaded all the ways out of it. So then they just get to arrest everybody. And then once everyone's arrested and processed, then it goes through this whole like, if it gets big enough like January 6th, then they're going to try to hit you with all this stuff. That happened like 2 years ago, and here we are, almost 3 years ago, and here we are. Yeah, these people are now facing decades in prison.
That's craziness to me, man. And I know I don't know if you ever heard of the guy from the Wooz News, WOOZ News, but he did a lot of great videos on Jan 6, and he did, he's working on this big project on it, and it gets taken down. I think the first video you can find on BitChute, part 2 you can still find on Rumble, but Wooz News, WOOZNEWS. He really breaks down some crazy stuff about crisis actors and things like that, people being let in. I mean, just some of the stuff that probably a lot of people, just the casual Jan 6 person has no idea. And for somebody like you watch this, you're like, yeah, I've probably seen the script. I've seen them do this here.
Right, but we have to keep putting this stuff out there, and we have to keep hammering. Why isn't Ray Epps behind bars?
Yes.
I mean, how many times do we have to bring up Ray Epps? How many times do we have to play the videos of him saying, we're going into the Capitol. I don't care. We're going to knock down this barricade and riling people up. Why are they going after Alex Jones as saying, don't go into the Capitol? It's a trap. Why are they going after Owen Schroyer? Why are they going after the Proud Boys, which were literally just there for security and to make sure that the InfoWars people and Roger Stone and everybody weren't going to be assassinated? Because that's very likely that if the Proud Boys weren't there surrounding all of the biggest figures in the resistance against the New World Order, the New World Order had operatives that were being violent. And so, I mean, we're playing a real game of chess here where, you do have kings, queens in the back row that needs to be protected by people. And that's, I think, why they're hitting those people so hard. It's not because they're racist, because they're not. They have Hispanics and blacks. It's not because they're homophobic, because they have gays and the Proud Boys and stuff like that. It's not that they're nationalists. It's because they were the line of defense. They're pretty much acting as the militia, the unarmed militia, but just the fact that they are in a defensive stance with bulletproof flak jackets and military looking outfits and things like that. They're going to go after anybody that is the front line like that, because we are essentially now being a new uprising, a new resistance that has its own paramilitary force that isn't doing it for money. They're not shills. They're doing it because this is what needs to be done in order to take back our country from these people that have stolen it from us. We, the people, are the ones who run this country. And yeah, that's not the truth anymore, but it's what is supposed to be the truth. It's what's still in the Constitution, which is still valid, that they are trying to destroy. So we just have to continue to double down, get rid of all these governors that, like in New Mexico, that's pushing for violation of the Second Amendment. She's trying to take guns away from law-abiding citizens. That's the very first thing. Mao took the guns. Stalin took the guns. Hitler took the guns. Anybody who is doing any of this kind of monkey business to take someone's country and enslave their people or kill their people, the first thing they're going to do is silence their opposition, jail their opposition, make lies about their opposition, and then they're going to go in and start trying to take the guns. So that's exactly what you're seeing here, where they are silent. It started with the deplatforming and all the censorship. YouTube, they're so weird because I haven't been able to upload anything to the Sacred Owls YouTube channel in years. And that's why the Sacred Owls YouTube channel just sits there with the content that we uploaded years ago. And we've been up, for 13 years or something. And, but yet we have very low subscribers, very low traffic. When we get more traffic on our website and those videos are embedded videos are supposed to be getting those hits, but they don't show up on YouTube. And then I logged in. I was locked out for a long time, and then I just tried to log in out of the blue to see if I could, and I was able to log in the other day for the first time in years. And I'm like, oh wow, okay, let me see if I can upload a video. I could. So I was like, all right, well, we don't have Idiocracy or Polite Company from Government-Sponsored Terrorism up on YouTube, and those are the only two songs missing. So let me go ahead and upload those. I upload them, and within a day, Idiocracy got a community guidelines violation for hate speech.
Oh.
And if you read those lyrics, I posted it. I wrote an article on darkdocs.com yesterday, but there's nothing in there that's hateful towards anybody. I'm just pretty much describing the film and drawing the parallels to how that's really happening in real life. But it's not trying to attack anybody. And then the funny thing was, then a couple hours later, I got a community guidelines strike for pedophile hunter rock and roll, which has been on there for years now. I think we came out with the original video for that in 2019, somewhere around there. So, I mean, it's been up there for 4 years, and now all of a sudden they have a problem with it. Interesting. So they put Idiocracy back up because they said they removed it,
okay,
but it's there now, so that's good. So they said they took down Pedophile Hunter Rock and Roll 2. I just appealed that as well. And that one's for cyberbullying and targeted against targeted individuals or whatever. And fair enough, because I am saying it's going to get gory. I'm calling out names. But there's a lot of songs on YouTube and stuff like that. There's Eminem songs where he's talking about murdering other musicians and stuff, but it's okay if Eminem's doing it, right? Oh, it's satire when he has someone dressed like Trump with clown makeup and he puts a gun against his head. How is that any different than me saying that these guys are pedophiles, we hunt pedophiles, you do the math. So it's an interesting place where we're at in free speech and stuff, and it's getting kind of wild. It's getting kind of scary. And I just heard it. They're removing books from public libraries and school libraries. Anything that was from before 2005 they're getting rid of it unless it had like a revised version from the publishing house after 2005. They're donating them to Amazon was one of the things. Some of them they're just throwing them out. There was a news report that like it's becoming a problem. All of the books that are simply being thrown away and being put into the landfills. That's an environmental issue for all these books to just be like dumped like that. So why are we, we're keeping genderqueer and a bunch of books like with like hardcore homosexual pornography, and we're keeping that in elementary schools, and that's okay and inclusive, but like we're getting rid of 1984, A Catcher in the Rye, Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, like all these like vital books to like show our history. Even if something does have a rape scene, or even if something does have some racism in it, we're not going to learn about it, and we're doomed to repeat it if we don't learn from the history and we don't learn from the literature. And not all of it's terrible, and like they're also trying to just like whitewash and hide a lot of other things that might influence. Like I was actually just listening to MoFax with Adam Curry. They have a new episode that dropped about like the beginning of hip hop, which comes from rock and roll and gospel music and everything back then. But it goes back to like slave songs and things like that. And they were talking about the meaning of a lot of these slave songs, that they were actually like code for the Underground Railroad. And that shit's really inspiring. Like they were engaged in information warfare and encrypted messages in order to get their freedom and get around like slavery and stuff. Like, why aren't we learning about that? Like that's impressive and amazing and interesting. But no, it's just like, oh, it was all bad. All white people were bad back then. And it's like, no, like there was all kinds of people helping on the Underground Railroad, and like and let's talk about like how awesome these black people were, and and clever and using all these things. And I always assumed that they must have had something like that, but they don't talk about that in school. So we're in a very dangerous place where they're rewriting history and shaping the narrative into something very toxic, very divisive, and it's really hard to get people united.
Yeah, they want to take these things, and these are some things that I love about Trump and RFK Jr. is they take these same things, and it's like, let's figure out how to. And Trump needs to work on it, but he's getting better. I believe Trump is paying attention to everything RFK Jr. is doing. Just in the last year, in the last couple months since RFK Jr. said that he's running, I've seen some things that I'm like with Trump, like he's watching what RFK Jr. is doing, because RFK Jr. is looking, how do we bring people together with these issues that you are talking about, with slavery, with the racism that is here. We don't, the people who did all of those things to help those people back then, they don't want us to be violent now. They were trying to create something better. They weren't trying to create a revolution based on violence. They were trying to help people. And this is where our country is now. We are so divided that we have on both sides, on all sides. We have all these people that are, trying to get us to be violent. But I think most of the people are like, we don't want that. I got kids. I got work. I got a job. I want my family, and I want my family's family. I want all of us to have a better life. How do we fix this thing? And that's what I think.
Yeah, Trump I think the big thing is we have to have a serious, like, not just non-violent message, but also we have to have a range of civility. Where, for example, like the white supremacist problem that's now coming up on the right wing. And I say coming up, it's been here. And yes, a lot of them are feds, but let's face it, a lot of them are grassroots. And a lot of them are white people that feel that, like, with the Democrats opening the borders and using MS-13 and all these non-governmental organizations to bring in people, not from Mexico, but from all parts of South America. And it's not just South America. From all over the world, people are coming into South America in order to cut through Mexico, in order to go through our southern border. And then the NGOs are giving them thousands of dollars in airplane tickets and setting them up in these sanctuary cities and all of this. And if you are a white person in the United States, that's terrifying. And you see what's happening in Europe and all these other countries where, you know, they're just ushering in all these people. You know, it's like Tucker Carlson talks about it, and he's called a racist. It's like, you know, because it's replacement theory. And it's like, it's happening. I mean, just statistically, you know, you're being disingenuous if you say it's not happening. But at the same time, do I think that the white supremacists are going about it the right way, calling Laura Loomer Laura Joomer and yelling "kike" at everybody, and, you know, just, you know, they think all black people are just like dirt. You know, if you go on Gab and watch that like Handsome Truth guy, what a fucking prick that guy is. Like, I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not sorry. Like, that, we don't need that. Like, he'll just go up to innocent people and like, oh, because you're a fucking Jew, huh? You're a fucking pedophile. You're a fucking, like, whoa, you know, nobody. And what that does on the other side is that people see someone extreme like that, and, you know, he's like a Chad. He works out. You know, he's a handsome guy. You know, the name, you know, holds up good for him. But, like, he's a fucking asshole. And he's even trolling police that, like, pull him over. It's like, oh, you fucking Jew cop. Yeah, you're just fucking doing this because you're a Jew. Oh, look, your hands are shaking. It's like, that's a form
that's
of
what they want, right? That's what they want.
Yeah, it's a form of terrorism.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that like you know, they say, oh, sticks and stones, you know, may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. That's not true. There's things, and it's not about feelings. Oh, you're hurting my feelings. No, but like when you make claims against somebody, like it's called libelous. You know, it's actually like actionable in litigation, and you can sue someone for defamation of character if you have standing. If it hurt your business. A good example is Bash the Fash that we brought up on the last couple episodes, saying that sacred owls are, you know, national socialists, where like that hurt our business. We were promoting for this show, and then because they lied about us and said we were Nazis when we are fucking not, and we've always, you know, said that we are anti-fascist. We think that the Bohemian Grove is fascist. We think that a lot of these Democrat policies are fascist. We think a lot of these neoconservative Republican policies under Bush were fascist as well. These are all like dictatorial. The National Defense Authorization Act is fascist. The Patriot Act is fascist. Taking your shoes off at the airport is fascist. It's left and right in, you know, the false left-right paradigm that are doing this. And we've always been opposed to that type of like governmental overreach and tyrannical behavior by governmental entities. So to call us National Socialists is absurd, and it's baseless, and it affected our business. So that's libelous. So it's actionable. So we can sue you. You know, so I am getting evidence together because I'm not a rich man, and everything that I do, I'm doing with my very limited funds in order to fight the info war and do my part in exposing corruption. And it's at my own detriment that, like, oh, they're going to call me a terrorist and put me behind bars for simply exposing other criminals that are, you know, I'm not a criminal, like criminals doing crimes against humanity. And I'm here just being like, hey, look, you know, I found this evidence of a crime. I'm just here to report it. Oh, you're a criminal for reporting on this stuff. We're not going to play that game anymore. Like that's not the America any of us signed up for. That's not what our founding fathers died for. That's not what all these, you know, veterans that died in these foreign wars were lied to about, and what they thought that they were fighting for, died for. We need to stand up for what we've been promised. But what that means is we have to be held accountable. We have to stand up, and we have to, reject any of these, whether it's a lockdown or wearing a mask or, being called names and having it defame your character. We have to stand up for ourselves and be like, where does it say that? You have to substantiate this, or else, it's baseless, and then we will have to sue you. And it sucks, and it's a burden on us because now we have to pay for lawyers. We have to take time and build a case. We have to do all of these. We have to go out, stop what we're doing moving forward. They're doing the same thing to Trump, continuing to drag him into all of these lawsuits and stuff. At what point does Trump get to say, you know what, I'm suing all of you people for the damages of lost time in that I could have been working on my campaign. I could have been fixing the economy. I could have been doing this. I could have been doing that. But instead, you're, and that's the annoying thing about something that I think is an injustice and needs to be corrected about our judicial system, that you can't sue somebody for lost time. But yet time is time is money. Time is one of the most valuable things you have. Your time on this earth, your waking hours, make hay while the sun is up. Well, if you can't make hay while the sun is up, then you don't make money. So it affects you financially, but you can't sue about that. So these criminals have a loophole if they have enough money that they can continue to sue you into oblivion on baseless claims. You need to be able to retaliate on that.
Yep, definitely. And I think Trump did with Stormy Daniels. I think he actually was able to get her to pay the lawyer fees and all that stuff or something, which was kind of petty, but
right. You maybe are able to break even, but you should be able to be paid out damages on top of all of that, because again, it's not just the lost time, but now moving forward, you have to refocus your whole thing, and it's exponential. There's a snowball effect to all of this. So we really need to do better. I don't even know the answer. We need to get lawyers involved that, have brass balls and they're willing to go up against these people.
Well, I think that's another great thing about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is he is a lawyer who has actually litigated against a lot of the governmental companies or governmental, people, and he's doing it right now. The main thing that he's doing is with Google right now. Let's see how that goes. Because at least right now we have a judge that has ordered the Biden administration to stop talking to Facebook, to stop telling Facebook what they should censor. I don't know if they're doing it. I don't know. It doesn't sound like they are complying with it. Same thing with Google. They're not supposed to be talking to them. The Biden administration is not supposed to be telling Google or Facebook or anybody else what they should and should not censor. And pressuring them. So there's going to be, I'm really curious to see how this whole Google case plays out with RFK Jr. because he's at the front lines and he knows how to do this stuff. He's been an environmental lawyer for a long, long time. Now I believe he's gonna be really good at pretty much making sure that your channel is protected, that my channel is. This may not work out, but at least he's trying. It's one thing that I was like, why didn't Trump just try to do something like this? While he was president, he would have had very good standing. But now it's kind of different for him because he's in the same spot with us too. And I can hear it in some of his speeches where he holds back on two very important topics. The only time that I ever get dinged and I get censored or I get a strike is for two things. I get a strike for RFK for medical misinformation, or I get a strike for Donald Trump talking about voter fraud. That's it. At least on my channel. So I going forward, I'm very curious to see what happens in these next six months. It feels like every year we say, hey, this is the last year, we only have so much time. I don't believe that. I believe we have a lot of time here, but I keep hearing I keep hearing Donald Trump say that he does not believe that Joe Biden is going to make it out of the gate. Out of the gate to me means that Donald Trump doesn't think that Joe Biden is going to be the one. Donald Trump does not.
What do
think
you
that
mean
Joe
out
Biden
of the
is,
gate?
So what I think, and I could be wrong on this because I've heard him say this 3 or 4 times, out of the gate means that Biden is not going to win the primary. He's not going to win the
Ah,
Democratic Party primary. Now, RFK
yeah.
Jr. has come out and said, look, because for a long, long time, I think since the beginning, it's always been New Hampshire they've always done the primaries first, and I think Iowa, but now with the Biden administration, they're changing that. They're changing it so that South Dakota goes first, and it just happens to be a state where Biden does well in. And they're also going to say that anybody that votes before the South Dakota votes, those votes will not count, which will mean that everything that RFK Jr. is doing right now in New Hampshire and in Iowa, that those delegates will not go to RFK Jr. They will default and go to Biden. This is going to be very similar to what has happened with Bernie Sanders. With votes, Bernie Sanders won the votes. He won these points, but the votes still went to Clinton. Or it's really not the votes, it's really the delegates. So understanding the primaries has also been another thing that I've been trying to wrap my head around, because the primary is really where once we get into the general and we have our 2 candidates, that's another thing. But getting there, now I'm really starting to see why people have always been saying this, these things are rigged. They're going to choose the person that they want. It really does seem like they want Biden. Gavin Newsom has said no. He's already made it very clear he is not running.
You think Gavin's out?
Yeah, Gavin has publicly said that he's out, and people should not start thinking about that. I think 2028, Gavin is in, which is really more frustrating for me because
even his own California doesn't even like Gavin though. I don't see it.
I know. No, that's why he's going to have to do something really, really special. But
I think it's gonna be Big Mike. Big Mike 2024.
Big Mike 2024. I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I don't know about that because you got to have some experience.
Gavin Newsom can be vice president.
I can see Kamala Harris running at it, but
they don't like her. They're gonna get rid of her.
Yeah, but they don't have any.
Nah, I'm not seeing it
now. Yeah, well, the thing is, they're fighting 2 different fronts, and if Jesse Ventura throws his hat in the ring, which he's talking about becoming the Libertarian Party candidate, they got 3 big problems here. And so,
I think it's great. Like, everyone should be, all the big hitters should be up and running, because what's going to happen is, again, like, anyone voting Trump voters are going to vote for Trump, period. There's no wishy-washy. They're voting for Trump. You're voting for Trump. All these new people that like the mugshot, they're voting for Trump. They don't care. They don't want to hear it. They're voting for Trump. But then you have people that your Biden voters are weak voters, and you're gonna have people that vote blue no matter who. But they'd probably be willing to vote for RFK if the DNC lets him in. If they don't, and he runs as a third party, maybe like half of those people would still stick with him as a third party candidate, which is, I think, great for third parties in general. But again, it's all going to be taking away from Biden, which is they're going to have to steal this election again. And this time it's going to be a little hairier. And I think it might cause a civil war. I'm not going to start it, but I know you're not going to start it. But people are like, they're fed up. Like, they're more fed up than ever.
I know.
So
I know. Yeah, and it'll be nice to have 3 presidential candidates that are pretty much. And they're all coming out and saying it. Like, man, the system is rigged. Even RFK Jr. is like, this thing is rigged. The whole DNC is actually rigging this whole process and everything. Instead of, hey, let's get the best person, Here it's no, they want that. And then on the Republican side, they're doing everything they can to get rid of Trump. They don't even want the best person that they have that could actually win. They don't even want him. So that shows we have internal wars on both sides of these two-party systems here, which I think is great. That's what we need. We don't need lockstep, right? We don't need, hey, you have to vote for Trump and that's it, or else you're a traitor. No, vote for whoever you think is the best person for that party. If people think that Ron DeSantis is the best person, vote for him. I don't believe that Ron DeSantis should have run. I think he should have waited till 2028 because this is really going to hurt his future, I think. Not as a governor.
Yeah.
And you're in that state. So I mean, are you seeing bumper stickers? Are you seeing Ron DeSantis bumper stickers? Are you seing RFK Jr. bumper stickers?
I am, but like it's so much less than Trump. Like it's like Ron Paul had more bumper stickers than Ron DeSantis. I'd say he's getting as many bumper stickers as like McCain had when against Obama. Like, and it's kind of pathetic. But like Trump, Florida's Trump country. Everywhere you go, there's Trump flags hanging from front yards and from their trucks, and we still have Trump rallies just on the sidewalk, in Central Florida with like 30-40 people on a Tuesday with they're making hot dogs and blasting music, and they're on the Trump train. It's like it never went away. I mean, and I think that's why like a lot of like Orlando is like woke and they hate it, and they see all of that MAGA stuff. They see swastikas, even though they're not there,
Right.
But if you talk to these like MAGA Republican people in Central Florida, none of them are Nazis. Like, I mean, maybe one or two of them are like real quiet about it, but like it's a different crowd. And the National Socialists in the area, and they are here, they are in Deltona and DeBerry and stuff. They think that they call them MAGA tards and stuff. So it's like we're so divided, even on the right wing, that like you have these National Socialists that are just as divided and far out there as like the Black Bloc, Antifa, the BLM, kind of really radical democratic socialists and stuff like that. That they don't even like Biden. So it's like, well, then who are you voting for? Oh, like they don't believe in voting. They're anarchists. It's like that's how the far left and the far right, like they're the same in terms of they don't have a candidate.
Yeah.
They don't have an infrastructure. They're just going to bitch and moan and set things on fire and make fun of people and try to start a race war, try to start a civil war, have these like isolated mass shootings. And if they're getting money from, NGOs and federal agencies, then that feeds into the whole theory of, I mean, we're coming up on October. The FBI, they need money every October, so they have their October surprises. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have a false flag event, maybe here in Florida even, and like that's what that whole thing with them marching on our town and stuff was about. Because it wasn't just Central Florida people; they had groups from all around the country fly in for that random event on a weekday in Altamont Springs. Really unusual. And so something's definitely fishy, because right before that they had all like the swastikas and stuff being spray painted on the mural, the gay murals on Mills and all that, and so like they took that as a threat. We're in the middle of all this, so like I feel like we might be trying to get set up by somebody, left, right, both sides, in order to be like, they're a part of this or that. It's like, so I want to make it very clear, non-violence, guys. And like, yes, I have a concealed carry permit. Yes, I carry, but I only carry in places that are legal, which is most places here in Florida. I have no reason to go into courtrooms, and if I do, I'm not bringing a firearm. It can stay in the car. But yeah, like they're planning some shit, and I don't like it. I can feel it in the air. Did I lose you? Hey, I'm Christian Coffins. I'm running the show now, I guess. I don't know what happened to Craig Fernandez Jr. But let's see. I've never used the StreamYard thing on my phone before. No one's in the chat. I'm just talking to myself here. Well, I'll take this opportunity. Please visit darkdocs.com/shop. We have a lot of fun things over there. Help fund our operation. Hey, you're back. Did you get logged off or something?
Yeah, I had to fix my camera for some reason, but no, it's I wanted to play. I don't know how much time you have, so if you
let's talk about this Kevin McCarthy. Let's talk about this Kevin McCarthy wearing a Bohemian Grove polo.
Oh yes.
What do you think? What do you think the messaging is there? Do you think he was told to do it? Do you think he was like, "What's the big deal? I could wear this"? Or because he was talking about the Maui fires, and this is right around the time that they're introducing articles of impeachment for Biden. It's an interesting play to be wearing that stuff so brazenly. I mean, as far as I know, that's the first time a government official has worn Bohemian Grove merch since George Herbert Walker Bush, which at the time was retired. He was wearing a hat on vacation or something, and someone snapped a photo. But this guy was at a podium at an official capacity with his name on the screen behind. They're giving it a proper press conference, at his job. And, how do you feel about an elected official, Speaker of the House for the Republican Party, wearing a polo for a secret society that has a 40-foot statue of an owl that they sacrifice an effigy of the child to the flames in order to rid themselves of care, rid themselves of a conscience? But here he is talking about a fire, cremation of care, right? So he's here talking about a fire, and also he's wearing that blue. He's wearing that 6.66 blue, that nice blue that the lasers can't zap you.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. I was wondering why the shirt was blue, but yeah. And there's no, I mean, what other reason could there be for that owl? That's the Bohemian Grove owl. That's their symbol right there.
It's a specific owl. It was designed for the club, and it's on all of their. They only have 3 different logos, but that's the most commonly used one. I do have some older logos from like the 70s and stuff where they have a more rounded owl logo that they printed on like matches and bottles of wine, and it showed up a couple times. But over the years, this is the most iconic Bohemian Grove, Bohemian Club logo. Yeah, you see, for all of you people that are confused what we're about, we have the anti-hammer and sickle, anti-pedophile, anti-socialist, anti-Bohemian Grove, anti-swastika. So yeah, we're against the far left. We're against the far right. We're not a socialist country. We're not a democracy. This is the Federal Republic. This is the United States. So anyone that's confused and wants to call us far left, far right, we're against all of this radical bullshit.
Yeah. How long is this? Can I play this?
Yeah, it's like only 30 seconds or something. Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can play this.
So if you try to play the first one, you'll notice that the original video is not allowed to play, but I uploaded it to Rumble. You can click on the one underneath it.
Oh, okay. Well, it looks like I can watch it on YouTube. And that's probably what I see what's going on here.
Yeah, they make you go to YouTube to watch it.
I see. And that's
but I said that's stupid.
To make sure that you don't get the credit for it or something.
Yeah, so I uploaded it to Rumble and I put our little thumbnail in there.
Okay, let me see if I can cue this up here. Man, I hate how Rumble, like, I can't, like, it as soon as I hit play, it just starts playing. Okay.
I think there's disasters, and they're going to continue to be disasters. I think we could better prepare where a disaster doesn't happen.
And McCarthy also made a little trip to Hawaii over the holiday weekend, visiting the wildfire-devastated communities of Maui. While there, he vowed the people of Hawaii.
He's wearing it there.
He's wearing it right there. There's the shirt.
He's wearing it in Maui. Yeah.
He's wearing it in Maui. I mean, the symbolism, the why, and he's got the khakis, that's a big Bohemian Grove or Bohemian Club thing too. Got to have them khakis. He looks like he's ready to fly from Maui back to Monterey or something.
You know what? I mean, it makes sense when you're flying. If you're flying from the U.S. to Hawaii, you're flying out of San Francisco, maybe Los Angeles, but like it makes sense.
Yeah, he
He might have been coming from the Grove, or he might be going to the Grove, but I bet he was coming from the Grove. He was there for the 2-week encampment, right?
Yeah.
And then he might have stuck around town a little bit, and then he flew out from there. And oh yeah, I just got this polo and a clean shirt. Threw it on. No one will notice.
And he's not a California guy, right? He's not from. I don't know that much about him.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I've just heard a lot of people that I know are like, "This guy is scum. This guy is terrible." I'm like,
yeah, the Republicans hate him. The Democrats hate him. He's what you consider a rhino, And I knew that he was dirty during. We did a video back during the coronavirus pandemic and the lockdowns and everything, where he was up there. Do you remember he had the China task force, and they were going to get to the bottom of where the coronavirus came from, and if China was involved, we're going to come down with a hammer. And like they were like acting all badass like with this China task force. But what caught my ear was Kevin McCarthy. It's the first time I ever really like saw him doing anything like of value or any official capacity. And he said we are going to usher in a United States-led American world order. So like he didn't say New World Order, but he said an American-led world order. And we actually clipped it and put it like the Knight Rider theme under it for one of the intros of one of the Dark Docs Digest episodes, because it just sounded so unusual and like shocking. So it caught my attention. But I knew he's talking about the New World Order. He's a globalist. So it makes perfect sense that he's a boho.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. We play a few more minutes of. I mean, that's just too much, man. That's too much.
Hawaii would get the truth on what started the fire, why it grew out of control, why residents weren't notified faster, and what can be done in the future to prevent this type of devastation from ever happening again.
What is he going to do, though? I don't think there's much that he can actually do in relation to any. I mean, I'm glad that he went out there. I think more people should. I was thinking about
it's just what you do. Yeah. It's despicable that Biden. It took him 13 days. If I was working for Biden, I'd be like, you got to get out there right now. Like, the day after the fires, you got to get out there. Like, nothing is more important than the optics of being there as soon as you can, and then to give them only $700 per family when like that covers like a hotel for like a day there is disgusting. Meanwhile, we're giving all of this money to Ukraine. Speaking of Ukraine in World War III, have you seen the Truth Stream media video about the Ukrainian Phoenix that was unleashed at Burning Man?
No, but I think you have something on your.
Yeah, I just published it yesterday. I just watched it. Those guys are great. I also published recently. They did a 2-part miniseries called Overlooked, which it's a deep dive analysis into how Jack Torrance from The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of the Stephen King book, The Shining. Jack Torrance is actually dull care, and that's such a crazy thing to say. But the way they tie it all together, and historically, with like one of the real case studies for the Overlook Hotel is actually run by a Bohemian Grove member that had the Bohemian Club choir come and sing at their Christmas thing, and so like just the way they tie it all together, it's a brilliant expose. Each part is about an hour and a half, 2 hours long, and it's very skillful. But yeah, if you want to play a couple seconds of that thing about the Phoenix, it's pretty riveting stuff. I want to get your opinion of it.
Yeah, let me go back to that. Is that so? I'm pulling up darkdocs.com. So is there?
Yeah, you can click on that.
Oh, right there, right in front of me.
Hey, everybody.
Hello, we're here.
We're sort of here. So, August and September are typically thought of as harvest time. It's a time of year when many harvest festivals and rituals take place around, well, harvest. And in modern times for society, Burning Man is key among those. But this year, something really unprecedented occurred.
The annual Burning Man Festival in Nevada has turned into a dangerous mud bath this year. Torrential rains have turned the desert site into a swampland, and there's more rain in the forecast. Tens of thousands of fans are stranded here in Nevada's Black Rock Desert.
People who came for the normally sun-soaked Burning Man Festival, but extreme weather intervened. This video taken just a short time ago as the revelers were making their way out of the Black Rock Desert in Nevada. A storm dumped 2 or 3 months worth of rain in just 24 hours.
I'll give you my first thoughts on this, and I'll keep playing this here. But
yeah,
this is God's will.
Yeah,
that's the first thing that I thought of, man. I mean, even to say Burning Man is just this, it's just I don't know.
Yeah, Burning Man again, something that was founded in San Francisco, where they have and they have they make a big effigy of a man, and they all gather around in a circle to set this man on fire in a cleansing ritual. Nothing weird about that.
I did see the Nicolas Cage movie. I was kind of watching it in the background, and like
The Wicker Man,
and I don't know where I was. I was at somewhere, and they were playing it. And I remember the final scene, like he gets burned, he dies basically, and it's like, okay, that's it, that's the movie. He's like, yeah, that's the movie, that's it. Okay, so it's. I mean, and now that you say that, it makes total sense. It's so much like what happens at Bohemian Grove. Interesting, mind blown. All right, let me know if you want me to stop this here.
Hours of rain. Pretty wild story. Burning Man attendees are being told to
a member of the Grove or a guest for the cremation of care, and then you have the public ritual that now you could be anybody, be a member of the public, and go to this thing and feel like you're a part of the public burning of the man. Where at the Bohemian Grove they burn a child's. And then here they burn an adult man. But again, the concept of like building an effigy and setting it on fire as a part of a ritual. But yeah, go a little further because when it gets to the Ukraine stuff, that's when it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The mud offer shoes.
Out of a state of emergency, everyone was asked to stay in their camps and ration food and water and not leave the premises.
All traffic in and out is prohibited at this time.
No driving is allowed besides emergency vehicles, adding that attendees should try to conserve food, water, and fuel.
Headline events, disaster, calamity, predictable with a temporary city, tons of people, and basically one road in and out.
And a weather forecast that everyone kind of had.
Trapped in the mountains between an ancient riverbed. I mean, the place is apocalyptic on a good day. We went through there once.
We filmed it for a future project, and yeah, we were there when there was nobody there, but it's weird, disorienting to be there just at all. So I can't imagine what it would be like in extreme weather conditions or at a time when 6 planets are in retrograde. But anyway, if you haven't heard about this, 2 to 3 months of rain fell in a matter of hours, turning the Black Rock Desert playa, which is normally a dry alkaline riverbed, into a muddy mess that left 70,000 people basically unable to get around at all, or barely at all. The properties of that dust, when it gets wet, turns it into a kind of sticky glop that cakes onto itself and builds upon itself. And the more people try to walk and get around in it, the more caked on it would get.
Well, the narrative calls for extreme weather, and it's just been a year for extreme weather emergencies of all kinds.
So this was one more of those things. Normally it's 90 to 100 degrees out there. The weather plunged down to the 60s and as low as 40s at night. The National Weather Service out of Reno referred to it as anomalously cold. We were pretty concerned about our friends who were there. Game of Gods, I can't even say it.
Game of Gods author Carl Tykrab. We went up, he lives in Canada. We went and visited him and did an interview with him.
You know about where that is?
Yeah, here you go. Right there. Go back a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, right here?
Yes. That's been a good call.
And it was in a box that was 13 foot wide and 26 foot tall that was just put out there. They didn't tell people what was in it. It was a secret until it was revealed through the fire. And articles that talked about this, like this one in CNN, don't say really who presented this sculpture of a phoenix for Ukraine.
People going? Oh, sorry.
It just says here, this one titled Phoenix was the work of 14 artists and fabricators in both Ukraine's capital and Chicago. In the moments before Thursday's burn, audio of explosions and air raid sirens rang out around the installation while an opera singer arrived unplanned, I guess.
Unplanned.
It says unplanned.
I'm sure it was very unplanned.
To perform a song in Ukrainian. Like, I guess she just showed up. It was not planned. She just showed up there at that moment to sing a Ukrainian song. And they talk about how this is a rebirth for Ukraine, a cleansing fire ritual, the rebirth of Ukrainian identity. But they still don't say who presented it. They just make it sound like it's regular artists. But
just randomly.
But CNN obviously doesn't do a lot of, I guess, what I would call journalism, because it didn't really take me that long at all to find this article in Pravda, where it says right here, this is a Ukrainian sculpture being born through fire. It's about Ukraine and each of us and how we've become stronger than ever. Vitaly Deneha? Probably saying his name wrong. The founder of Come Back Alive Foundation, who is currently the Deputy Minister of Defense in Ukraine, writing about this on Facebook.
So Ukraine being what it is, why are Ukrainian politics taking over Burning Man of all things? I mean, something's a little bit off, a little suspect with that whole, if you ask me. I love this thing where they wrapped it in a box like it's a big mystery. And it would be, because if you saw the sculpture, you would never know that was a phoenix unless they told you. But also, so much empty propaganda has now been associated with Burning Man. What they used to do, what they originally did, because we saw the museum exhibit, you know, the founder, Harvey and everybody, it's an interesting take on the rituals that have been done throughout time. It's an interesting take on responding to the changes that are happening in our world. But the soul of that place died X number of years ago. It's been taken over by United Nations propaganda and establishment propaganda of various kinds. And now you have a very American, it's supposed to be, you know, iconoclastic and rebellious and free and licentious in the desert. And instead, they're using it to project propaganda
For
for
war.
the
They're doing a
establishment for war.
ritual for war.
Did I say too much there? So inside the mystery box is just another box of empty symbolism. It's supposed to be revelatory, but I just see another empty box. And again, you wouldn't know that was a phoenix if they didn't tell you it's a phoenix. But that's also super easy symbolism, a little bit.
But also, this deputy
What is the? And let me know if I should keep going and not.
Yeah,
talk.
no, I mean definitely everyone should watch. It's about 35 minutes. Like, watch the full video. But yeah, so the deputy defense minister of the Ukrainian armed forces was there at Burning Man and filmed this and then reported it to a Ukrainian news outlet as rebirth through fire. And promoting a war. With Ukraine on U.S. soil, and they're trying to like chalk it up as like this is a nice uniting thing. It's like, no, this is a foreign military that is engaged in propaganda on U.S. soil, and part of some weird ritual. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Like it seems like this is a sort of war cry, a war call, in a very hot war we're getting into with Russia, who is now aligning with China, North Korea. We're really knocking on World War III's door, and things like this aren't helping.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, just when you thought Burning Man was, bad and just weird, it got it got even weirder for me. Yeah, I've never understood.
Yeah, and but so the whole long story short with the video, right after they this Phoenix thing, the very next morning, that's when the rain started. So you have this like rebirth through Phoenix, this and that. Fire ritual, and now you have unprecedented water that is destroying the entire thing. A bunch of people leaving, people having a hard time leaving because of the mud and things like that. And so the actual Burning Man, the man, and all of the stuff that was supposed to happen didn't happen, and they got delayed. And by the time thousands of people already left, then they did the Burning Man thing. So this Ukrainian thing, doing this burn before everything at the very beginning, stole the thunder and pretty much replaced the entire Burning Man ceremony and ritual that people travel to see, which to me it's a lark, because I think the whole thing's retarded. It's really sketchy. It seems like a bunch of rich people with $500,000 RVs drive out into the desert to do ayahuasca and and it's like some weird boomer rich people hippie thing that rubs me the wrong way in general. But again, like they co-opted even that thing for those people with this whole Ukraine, which is to me a slap in the face to the people in Maui, to the people, to the things that are homeless here in this country, to the United States citizens that are having a hard time buying eggs at the grocery store or putting gas in their car to go to work. And now that they're trying to push the lockdowns and all these things, it's like it's despicable to have this foreign nation that most people can't even point to on a map taking up all of our attention and pretty much overtaking and co-opting all of our national traditions, even ones as stupid as Burning Man.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few things I would say are kind of weirder or just I don't understand than Burning Man. Hey, if people want to go and do that, that's fine. But for me, it's just
Also, let's talk about all these
thing.
people are like global warming, environment. Oh, we're killing the planet. Yeah, you know
He's
what
very
kills the
left wing.
planet? Going to Home Depot and buying hundreds of thousands of dollars of like 2x4s and making all of these pallet structures. Like a lot of people are on X and all the social media being like, yeah, like that's a good idea. We have a homeless problem, so let's build a temporary city in the fucking desert where you have to like bring in all of this stuff, build all this time and labor just to burn it.
That's right.
All of these construction materials could have been used to build permanent structures for homeless people to live and thrive and maybe get a job and rise up. But no, we're going to go do drugs in the desert and set fire to a bunch of pallets.
Yeah, I've never heard anything good coming out of the Burning Man, especially I remember years, it's like there's always some, I don't know, there's always some weird things, but I like how you say that. They do all this just to burn it down, and it's like a Hollywood set. They make these big, lustrous things, these awesome sets and everything, and then at the very end, all they do is they just trash it, they burn it down, they take it down, and that's it, and it's done, and they move on to the next thing. It's really crazy to me.
The hypocrisy of like even people at Burning Man were like heckling and yelling at people that after the rains and everything were trying to leave because, oh, you're destroying the surface of the playa. You can't drive through that. It's damaging to the playa. But meanwhile, it's okay to, if you've ever seen photos of after Burning Man or any of these big festivals out in the middle of nowhere, there's, garbage bags and empty beer bottles and broken glass and syringes and condoms and, underwear
like
with shit all over them, diapers and
yeah.
It is. It's a big rave, and everyone's doing drugs and getting drunk and having orgies and doing all that. And then like you can't say that you're an environmentalist and be a part of any of this unless you stick around and you pick up every single last bit of trash. And they do have rules that say like, oh, anything you bring in, you got to bring out. It's just like camping or whatever. But like, yeah, I've seen the photos after the aftermath of these things, especially if there's like a weather incident and, people are, just like freaking out and they run out of materials and they're just trying to get out of there. But yeah, so like people are like, giving people a hard time for driving on the wet playa. But they're happy to leave a bunch of smoldering burnt wood and yeah, no, we don't talk about that. That's right. Stay quiet, Santa Claus. That's so creepy.
Yeah, and
there's some Burning Man art with the all-seeing eye and some skulls, and it's liberal.
It's liberal. Yeah, it does seem very left-leaning kind of thing. And so when with the Ukraine in it, that doesn't seem too strange to me. I kind of expect that. Because that's
the Deputy Ministry of Defense shot the video. How about that?
Wow. There you go. And it's very, very strange. And
isn't the left supposed to be anti-war?
Well,
aren't they supposed to be anti-war?
Aren't they supposed to be anti-Nazi? Aren't those the ones that come out and say, let's go punch a Nazi?
Yeah, that's another thing. Then you have the Azov battalion, like Boneface and stuff, Sig Heilin and speaking Ukrainian in my town in Altamont Springs, but like we're supposed to be anti-fascist. All of the double speak here. It's like, it's total cognitive dissonance. We care about the earth, but we're going to spend a bunch of money to buy a bunch of, cut down trees just to set on fire for fun. But we're environmentalists and we care about global warming, and we care about the playa, and we care about being Donald Trump's a Nazi, but we're going to support Nazi Ukrainians. That the Russians are anti-Nazi and fighting.
Isn't
It's
that
total
crazy?
cognitive dissonance.
Isn't that so crazy? So, speaking of that, what I want to do here, I don't want to go too much longer, but I do want to play this little clip and kind of get your thoughts on this.
Okay.
So I'm gonna force you to watch 2 minutes of Donald Trump, if that's okay with you.
No.
And here's what he's talking about: children are not for sale. All right, let's play this.
The top person from Mexico came in, just right under the president, who's a friend of mine. I mean, he's a great guy. He came in, and I said, "You're going to have to give us 28,000." She goes, "No, we will not do that." I said, "Yes, you will." And he said, No, we will not do that. I said, "Here's the story. It was a Friday evening." I said, "On Monday morning at 7:00 in the morning, you're going to be paying a tariff or tax of 25% of every car." They stole 32% of our car industry, just so you know. They send us millions of cars. Of every car and every product from Mexico into the United States, you're going to be paying a tariff. And here are the papers right here. I'm going to sign them now, but it goes into effect 7:00 on Monday morning. And he said, "May I make a phone call?" And I said, "You may." Came back in 5 minutes. "Sir, it would be our honor to put 28,000 soldiers on the border to protect you from some very bad people that are coming in." And Biden gave all that stuff up. He gave up Title 42. That what Title 42 was so important to protect our country, and to end the child trafficking crisis by returning all trafficked children to their families and their home countries immediately. And Jim Caviezel, who's a big actor, put it very well in the movie Sound of Freedom. God's children are not for sale. He said that. God's children are not for sale. Good movie. That was a good movie, by the way. And Jim is a wonderful guy. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. Our children are just being absolutely, they're being harassed, and they're not old enough to know what's right. And, as the children, when they do these horrible things to them, and they turn 30 at 35, they look back and they say, "Who did this to me?" Many of them, a big percentage, I think 68%. I saw some numbers, 68%. Who did this to me?
Yeah.
Who did it? Without parental consent? Can you believe it?
Mm-hmm.
I will insist on the right of every parent to send their child to the public, private, charter, or religious school of their choice. Choice.
Yeah. So I just wanted to play that there quickly for you.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Where's the lie? Where's it's interesting. He's at concernedwomen.org.
Right.
He's I thought he was misogynist. He hates women. That sounded like a lot of women that are supporting Trump, and they're against child sex trafficking, and they're against all these weird sexual things and racist things being taught to our children in order to destabilize us. And then touching on the trans issue, the 68%, and that's absolutely a legit statistic. A study came out that 68% of these transitioned individuals are coming out now, and they're detransitioning, and they're now suing the hospitals. There's court cases coming out now that they're winning lawsuits against these hospitals, being like, "I didn't want to transition. I didn't want to have my ovaries taken out. I didn't want my penis to be cut off and made into a fake Play-Doh vagina. and now I can't have children, and I'm suing the hospital because they talked me into it. They tried to convince me as a minor behind my parents' back that I was the opposite sex and that this would fix my depression. And a majority of these trans kids, they are already on SSRIs. They are on antidepressants and all kinds of drugs that have side effects that make you homicidal, that make you suicidal, that make you have delusions of grandeur. So you have people that are on hardcore mind-altering substances, and they're in a very suggestible state, and they have people in an authority position telling them, you're a boy, you're a girl, and this is going to fix everything, and getting them all excited. And then once they're just trying to make money off of these poor children with all of these testosterone or estrogen therapies, and then going through all the surgeries. They're making tens of thousands of dollars for each one of these procedures, while destroying these kids' life and preventing them from being able to have children and have a family and have a meaningful heterosexual sexual relationship with somebody when they get older. And that's just so unfortunate and so disgraceful, and it's such a slap in the face of God and their design of these human beings. And that's what I've told everyone from the get-go. Like, I honestly believe all of you people that think that you might be trans or this or that, give it some time. If you're under the age of 18, give it some time. If you want to transition and you're over 18, you're an adult, you can make that choice. But wait, like, seriously, because again, these numbers don't lie. 68% are detransitioning, and they're mad as hell, and they feel that they've been lied to, they've been duped, and now they can't have children. You're gonna change your mind a bunch of times in your life. I didn't think I wanted kids when I was under 18, and then when I was 27, I had my first son, and it changed my life. And being a parent's such a wonderful thing. And they try to lie and, oh, it's going to ruin your life and you can't have a career. It's like, I have a career. I do all kinds of awesome things, and I'm a parent. And I'm so, like, my son's 13 now, and he's awesome. And he's waking up to all this stuff. And he's the kid in class that's showing people Alex Jones stuff and showing people Andrew Tate stuff. And he's well aware of everything that's going on in the world. And I could die today at 40, and he's going to continue on. They don't want you to be able to do that. They don't want you to be able to be replaced by your offspring, which are going to be smarter and faster and younger and have new, fresh ideas on how to solve these problems. Please have kids. It's awesome. We need it.
You're totally right, brother. You're totally right on that, on all of that. And that's one of the things when these kids look back and say, like what Trump said, who did this to me? Right? They're going to look at their parents and say, were my parents okay with this? And
right.
Unfortunately, some of us know parents that are okay with this, that are okay
yes.
with stuff. At least, hey, if you want to identify as whatever, because they love their kids. They want, these are their children here. So I get that. Man, you got to.
Yeah. Actually, let's play one last clip, if you don't mind, yes. on this topic. Look up on Dark Doc's Struggle Bus.
Okay.
It was posted a couple days ago. It might even be on the top slider still. If not, it's just a couple down on the homepage.
Let me see.
Because this is one of these lefty parents that's trying to virtue signal this stuff with their trans child, and you can just look at the kid's face. It's heartbreaking.
Oh, I look at the,
here we go.
Mother's face right there.
That's the mother.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's a short clip.
Okay.
Marshall, do you want to do a week 4 on testosterone, boys?
She looks so excited. That is the picture of trans joy to me. So excited.
By the way, I want to say that I forget what this lady's name is here on the screen, but she is awesome.
Yeah, she's on PragerU. I forget her name, but I like her videos.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah.
To be there.
Actually, I'm going to start it over.
Marshall, do you
Okay, highest quality.
Marshall, do you want to do a week 4 on testosterone, boys?
She looks so excited. That is the picture of trans joy to me. So excited to be there and talk about how wonderful, week 4 of testosterone is.
Week 4, the same. How are you feeling? The same. Any effects? Anything changing? Not really. Yeah. Are we struggle busing a little bit with the injection?
What are you doing putting your kid's business out on the internet anyways? You don't have answers to these questions. Why are you injecting somebody with testosterone? I have to ask the question. Why is it in almost every single scenario that I see a kid who's like transitioning? Why is it always a mother? Somebody please tell me that.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack there, where you have this mother that's clearly the one who came up with the idea to make this video, that you can clearly see that the child is begrudgingly doing it, on the verge of tears, and just, and then the mom's like, okay, well, anything you want to say? Are you struggle busting with the injections of testosterone? Which, first of all, I've never heard struggle bus or struggle busting as a verb, but like that just made my skin crawl, because it's like, it's a cute way of saying, you don't like this, you're having a problem. Getting, injections in general are weird, and I don't like the idea of them. I mean, I understand, like some people might have diabetes and you got to get shots, and like now they have things that you don't need to get the shots anymore. But just injections in general, like I would never be a heroin addict of, any of the drugs or any, shooting up stuff is weird. And,
What's
having
the age? What's the age?
I don't know. It probably maybe like 13, 12.
No.
Maybe 14. It's hard to tell with these kids these days.
Yeah, it is. The
mom looks fucking evil.
I mean, she looks like she's had some injections.
Yeah. And yeah, this is like her idea, not just to do the video, but I have a feeling her idea to do the whole transition. Oh, this will be great. I'll have a trans kid that I can show up online, so that way I can get, likes and dopamine on social media, and look how progressive I am. This is the new Louis Vuitton handbag for the liberal woman, to have a trans child and then parade them on social media. And so even, it got picked up by this woman, and, she made valid points. And now we're playing a video of her playing the video. So like, we're I guess part of the problem here, but like we have to have these conversations and dox these people. That's why we're dark docs. This is dark. This shit is This shit is demonic. And this poor child is being exploited. And I say I'm not making fun of trans child. I'm making fun of your mother, because I feel very sorry. You seem like a great, you could have been, you still can be a great kid. Please don't let them cut your genitals off. Say no. Like, please, stop taking the testosterone. It's gonna make you weird.
Is that a girl?
And the other big lie and the big myth about this testosterone and estrogen, we're just putting a pause on puberty. That's not true. That's been proven false by doctors in clinical studies. There are long-term effects to putting a pause on your going through puberty, and you don't get that back. So if you keep taking testosterone and you're a female, or you're taking estrogen and you're a male, you're going to grow up to not be a boy or a girl. You're going to be this weird something between. You're going to be a dude with a high voice and breasts and weird curves where like men's cuts of clothing aren't going to fit you right. And you're always going to be this weird middle sex androgynous. If you're a woman and you're taking testosterone, your voice is going to drop and you're going to be a bit masculine, but you're not going to look like a guy. You're going to look like this weird Rachel Maddow version of a guy that is not going to be attractive to anybody. I mean, I'm sorry, like, don't do this to yourselves. I can assure you, whatever God gave you, without any of this medical intervention, is going to be way more attractive to the same sex or the opposite sex when you get older. Just like write it out. You know, God knows better than, hey, Mendo, God knows better than these weird leftist, eugenicists, depopulationist, globalist, leftist doctors.
Hey, I just want to point out that that lady does not have a ring on her finger. So guys, she is available. She's available.
Oh man. I feel like if you're a guy and she dates you, she's going to be like, you know, you're really a woman and I'm really a lesbian. You should cut your dick off and we can, you know, scissor each other.
So, Christian, did the child start out as a boy or a girl?
I'm thinking by the looks of it, this is a young woman.
Okay.
That is taking testosterone to become a man.
Okay.
Right, because like if it was born a boy and they were taking testosterone, they would get all jacked up, you know? Whereas, you know, they have a boy's haircut now. They're wearing a hoodie, which is the uniform of like the trans female to male.
And there's no father in the picture, it sounds like.
And there's no father.
Yeah, and that's one of my worries is this is kind of the mom getting back at the dad. Obviously, I don't know anything about any of this, and this is just one of so many cases that people will never hear about. You may know about it. You may have something. You may have some family, some friends that are going through something similar like that.
Oh, yeah.
But this is
We've had in Orlando, there's a lot of gay and trans kids in Orlando in the punk rock scene. In fact, the center is like their like local where like it's a safe space for LGBTQIA PK+ individuals to go and get consultations for testosterone or estrogen or sex change surgeries. And it's literally one block away from Uncle Lou's that got spray painted and egged by Antifa because we were trying to play there, and we've been playing there for years. Right next to that is Grumpy's, which is run by Amanda, a lesbian that I know, and she's looking at me like I'm a ghost now too, because these people, they don't have the balls to talk to you and you know, and like let you defend yourself. They just see it's on the internet, it's true. And then you got Will's Pub, which you know, they have a rainbow on their door and they're like anti-homophobic, anti-racist, anti-this, pro Black Lives Matter, all this stuff. So it's like this whole like leftist thing has really infiltrated the, you know, the counterculture. What, you know, what's weird is like I'm 40 now, and when I was a teenager, being punk rock meant that you were anti-establishment. It meant that you were against corruption in government. You were against corrupt law enforcement. You were against, you know, going to war. Anti-Flag had a new kind of army where like punk rockers like had an upside down flag and they were anti-war. They were anti-Bush and the Iraq war and all that stuff.
All good stuff.
But now, then we had Obama. And then Obama changed everything because now, oh, well, we have a black guy in the White House, so I guess war is good because a black guy is doing it now. and he's a Democrat, and he's on Facebook, and so like now everyone's really confused.
Right.
And then then Trump comes in and he's a Republican, but he's anti-war. He is the only American president that hasn't started a new war. And then even when like Russia shot down some of our drones and stuff, we were like, oh, there was no casualties. We'll let it slide. Just don't let it happen again. Okay, sorry. It's like we could have started shit over that, and Trump wouldn't do it. But yet he's a racist, and he's a misogynist, and he's transphobic, and he makes fun of handicapped people, and all these things. So that's what happens over the past couple of years, to the point now where now punk rock is being trans, and it's being against heterosexuality and cisgender people, and we're all homophobic, but it's funny because that works with some people. So we had like trans people that were like coming to my house parties and stuff, when I had Coffin's print shop and we were open to the public, we were having these big shows, and I don't want to name them, but I had this one trans person. They were a big fan of Sacred Owls, and they would come to every single show. And then I remember one night they came to me crying, and they were like, this was a young man that was transitioning to be a young woman, and they were only 17 when they were coming to our house and to the parties and stuff. And me and Ariel kind of took this individual like under our wing and made sure that like, because we had people drinking and smoking weed and stuff, and we had to make sure like, this person's 17, like, don't be doing that shit at our house. Like, it's not a good look for anybody and whatever. So like, we were kind of like the punk rock parents for like some of these like lost youths, and they came crying to me one day being like, I don't know why everyone hates you and why everyone like thinks that. And I'm like, I expected this. I saw this coming, because I'm conservative, but I'm a punk rocker. So like Michael Graves, the lead singer of the Misfits after Glenn Danzig during the 90s, he started conservative punk as a response to Fat Mike from NoFX's Punk Voter, which was backed by, what were they called? Vote Blue. Vote Blue was giving money to Punk Voter and Fat Records and NoFX. And that's when they started promoting Planned Parenthood. That's when Fat Mike started wearing a dress. That's when, so you can see how all this stuff unfolded. They were getting these corporate sponsorships from Planned Parenthood in order to promote this, like, hey, it's punk rock to be queer. It's queer to be punk rock, kind of thing. And then calling Michael Graves a white supremacist for being a conservative punk rocker and going on InfoWars, which has openly been anti-Nazi since the beginning. You can watch anything from Alex Jones over the years, and he's like, I'm tired of all these Nazis. I'm tired of being called, far right wing. Yeah, we have conservative values, but like they don't like us and we don't like them. So like in the same way, you have people that claim to be Antifa or Black Lives Matter, but then they disavow the black bloc from burning down police stations and flipping cop cars. So it's the same thing on both sides, where we have like, the InfoWars, free speech. This is an information war. We're law-abiding citizens. We're just trying to keep our rights. We don't like Nazis. It's the same thing on the left, with them being like, look, we don't like Biden. We don't like the New World Order. We don't like the Bohemian Club. We don't think all Republicans are Nazis, and we don't like the far left and terrorists. But like a lot of them just don't believe it. They don't believe that, the people burning down police stations, they think that the feds, they don't think it's grassroots. They're like, that's not Antifa. Antifa isn't doing that. That's not what Antifa is about. But it's like, well, they're flying your flag, just like you had people on January 6th wearing MAGA hats and doing crimes. And we're all like, they're not with us. Even you, when you were at the gates of the Bohemian Grove back in 2012, and like that guy started like yelling and spitting on the cops, and you're like, we're not with him. Like, you know, we're always going to have these radicals that are going to try to make everyone look bad there, and you have to, those are the ones you have to put the camera on those guys and look into them after the event, you know, look into their social media, who do they work for, what kind of stuff are they posting on social media. So it's a lot harder nowadays to be, you know, as anonymous and be a agent provocateur for these intelligence psyop, you know, psychological operations. And I think that's why the masks were so in play and continue to be in play, because, and they're bringing it back. Oh, there's a new variant. So now you're going to have a lot more people wearing masks again. It's already happening even here in Florida, that you have a bunch of people, you know, that are now starting to wear these masks again. That's when the criminals can get away with stuff, because everyone's wearing a mask. So you don't know who it was. You couldn't see their face. You know, so I'm saying at this point, if you see someone breaking a law and they're wearing a mask, turn your camera on and rip their mask right the fuck off their face and get their face on camera, because we're not playing that shit now. You're not going to hide behind your little masks while you're doing election fraud, while you're burning down shit, while you're tearing down statues. We're going to rip your masks off of your face. Like, and let's see if you're going to try to say like, oh, it's assault to pull a mask off of someone's face. Well, it's also illegal what they're doing with a mask on.
Yeah, and
here in Florida, we had the bandit laws. You're not even allowed to wear masks. They had to overturn. They haven't overturned the bandit laws, so technically, any mask mandates are in violation of the Florida bandit law.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you have a mask on and you're starting trouble, and if I take off that mask, you have to charge me. So that means I have to be able to stand in front of my accuser, and at that point, you ain't gonna have a mask on. I'm gonna know exactly who you are, and that's when they usually
I'm happy to take those charges. You can give me like a misdemeanor for like assault for pulling someone's mask off of their face. I'm happy to charges, and as long as I can get that person's face now, and now we know who they are, and we've exposed them, we've doxed them. You know, we have to expose these people. We have to shed light on the darkness. These people operate in the shadows. They hide their identity. They're wearing masks because they're bad guys.
Yeah, and when you see the picture, a lot of them come out in Portland for some reason. They have the whole mugshots of who all these Antifa people are, and you look at them and like, these people are just not. These people that really, they need help, and they're wearing those masks. They want the attention. They want to feel like they're a part of something, which I can understand that. As a Christian,
yeah, but they're such cowards that they can't show their face. And same go for the Nazis. Those guys that were in Altamont Springs, the only ones you can see their face was the main guy who looks like, you know, one of the boss characters from Resident Evil 4, the ginger with the goatee, and he's wearing like the vampire red button-up shirt with the medallion, you know. And then you have Bone-Faced, who has the tattoos all over his face. And then you have that one other ginger guy with the glasses on. He's like the thinking man's Nazi, and he's like, you know, being very polite with everybody. And then you have all of these, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Shredder foot soldiers, you know, with all the masks and the glasses on. Same goes for those guys. Like, I don't want that shit. We need to enforce the bandit law and law enforcement. If you see a bunch of people wearing masks doing a protest, you like, I think in my personal opinion, I mean, I'm sure some people might disagree with this. If you're exercising your First Amendment in order to have a really radical message, you got to show your face. You know, that's why I've never worn a mask. I've never hidden my face, you know, any of that, because I'm not embarrassed. I'm not ashamed. I'm not proud either, because pride is a sin. But I am willing to stand behind the message that I am talking about. You know, I'm willing to stand up for the claims that I make, and Sacred Owl's lyrics and the message that we have. being anti-pedophile, saying that yes, they deserve the death penalty, and we need to send a strong message to human traffickers and pedophiles, sexual abusers, rapists, all these people. You need the death penalty, okay? There is no rehabilitation. The moment you take a child's innocence, you deserve to die. You do not deserve to breathe air anymore. And I'm happy to show my face and say, I am Christian Coffins and I approve that message. Because if you are standing up for something and you're wearing a mask, you're not standing up for it. You're being an anonymous NPC in real life, and you're just a faceless foot soldier. And I see you no different than any other terrorist that's in any other terrorist beheading video from Hezbollah or Al Qaeda or any of these other terrorist organizations. So whether you're left, right, or something else, if you're wearing a mask, you're on our radar. You're a bad guy. We good guys, you get to see our faces.
Right. And I want to finish this off here very soon, but I wanted to kind of give you, I got a few clips here that I could play. I want to see which one would you like me to play here, Christian? Do you want to, I'm sure you've already seen the Biden impeachment thing, the Trump racist. I wouldn't play that whole thing. We got Tucker Carlson, hot war with Russia, the debate stage, or how they plan on speeding towards assassination with Trump. Or is there another thing you'd like me to play here?
I'd say let's play the Trump 2024 racist one, because that's what's his name from the Proud Boys in that one, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
Yeah, we actually have an exclusive interview from 2 years ago on darkdocs.com. Enrique, I met him in person with my son. Very nice guy here in Sanford, Florida. And it's despicable what they're doing to him and the other Proud Boys that were literally just there as security for InfoWars, and being sentenced to over a decade in prison for simply just being there on January 6th. Some of them weren't even there that day, and they're still getting prison time, and it's disgusting. So
so he wasn't there. He was not there that day. We know that President Trump was telling people to stand down, that all this was peaceful, yet the speech that President Trump says, where he tells people all of this is peaceful, that is another speech that I got a strike from. That is another speech that is hard
because they don't want people seeing that part of they're censoring. Just like you try to upload the video of there's good people on both sides from Charlottesville. Yes. You can't upload that video in context where he's like, there was bad people on the left, there's bad people on the right. We had Ku Klux Klan and far right and David Duke, and I disavowed the Ku Klux Klan and racist. You can't play Trump saying that, which is the full part of there's great people on both sides speech. So it's like they selectively edit things out of context in order for their message that he's a racist, or he thinks that that these Nazis are just as good or bad as the Antifa, the radical left, but he's really being pretty unbiased and fair to say that he's right. There are good people on both sides. There's good people on the right. There's good people on the left. And I do believe that there are good socialists. There are good democratic socialists. They might be a little confused about how this country is supposed to work. We can talk about that. We can work on things. Some things in our government are socialist systems. I understand that. That's okay. We can have a conversation about that. Yeah, but there are good people on both sides.
And what's wrong with that? What's wrong with having a conversation? Now, because we grew up Christian before the whole digital age, we didn't have any choice. We had to have a conversation. I would sit down at
Yeah.
a bench, and I would sit down at a lunch table, and there'd be other kids that would come up, and we'd all be talking. They'd be talking about things. Hey, if I didn't want to hear it, guess what? I'd get up and I'd walk out because I didn't want to hear it. I didn't have to chastise them for what they were saying. And for me in this social, in the digital age, that's how I block people. If people are talking about stuff that I don't want to hear about, that I don't want to talk about because it makes me spiritually angry, it makes me spiritually mad, if it does something bad to me, I'm going to block that person because there's nothing that I can do to help them. And there's nothing that they can do to help me. And it's just going to make things worse. All I'm going to do is drive them further away from God, drive them further away from Jesus Christ. I don't want to do that, man. I don't want to be responsible for that because I take that seriously. At the same time, I don't want to get into a confrontation with people. My early childhood was very confrontational, and I grew up with a lot of fighting, and I don't want to be like that. I don't want to live like that. And we should.
Greg
not
grew up
have
on the
to live
streets.
like Oakland, California, with athletic. No, but I mean, the whole thing is that, and that's what I love about hearing RFK Jr. Talking about bringing people together. And if anybody has the time and the patience to go and listen to Trump's speech after he won in 2016, it's all about bringing people together. You know what I mean? And there are some people that can do that. And at some point, it's like, you know what, man? Maybe some things that I say, some things that I do, it's not going to bring people together. And I don't want to force that on other people. Why would they want to force it on me? If you believe what you want to believe, you don't need to force that on other people. Just believe it and do it and live it. And through that light will shine and people will see that. For me, being a Christian, I'm not going to convert people by laying things down or telling them what the Bible says or anything like that. It is about me just being the best person that I can be and learning and struggling through it and saying, you know what, okay, I failed here, I did good here, but learning and continually growing, but always having those things that you stand by. Be that rock and stand by those things that you truly believe in. And I'm just so sick of people they're first, one day they're like this and they agree with this side, and then tomorrow they agree with that side, or I want to agree with everybody. Well, you know what?
Yeah, I would rather that. That sounds great, but like what I see more often than not is people that are just like, yeah, my parents are Democrats, so that makes me a Democrat.
That's how I was. Yeah.
Or the total opposite, like, oh yeah, my parents are Republicans. They're crazy. All they do is watch Fox News. So like, I'm going to rebel against my parents and become a Democrat.
I think
it's sad to say that you don't see a lot of like Democrat parents with like Republican kids. I think it's happening more now, but like, or like, most people are just checked out. They're like, I don't even like politics at all.
Yeah.
And that's the scariest thing, because like, just because you don't like politics doesn't mean politics likes you. Politics is going to use you. Politics isn't going anywhere. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it just disappears.
That's right.
It's going to continue politicking against you. And if you're not aware of what's going on because it upsets you, then you're at a disadvantage. It's like, I don't like politics. People are like, oh, you must really like politics. You talk about politics. I hate politics. I hate politicians. I hate these systems. I don't want anything to do with any of this. This is all annoying and frustrating and unnecessary bureaucracy. But if I don't understand how things work, if I don't understand how to talk to law enforcement, if I don't understand how to do what we do of, researching this stuff, vetting information, looking at multiple sources, having these conversations, we're at a great disadvantage. And most people are, that they are at the mercy of everyone around them. They're no different than those people at Burning Man that, like, if it rains too hard, they're stuck and they have to ration their food and water, or else they might die. That's how we are on a bigger scale worldwide, that like month to month, paycheck to paycheck, if you're not saving some money and then diversifying, investing in different things, buying land and starting to homestead and build your own infrastructure, invest in solar panels, invest in batteries, invest in gas powered generators, learn how to work with tools, learn how to farm. If you're not doing this stuff, you're screwed, because shit is going to hit the fan in our lifetime. I honestly believe that it might happen sooner than later. These people are desperate, and they're dangerous, and they're destructive. And if you're not prepared for the worst, if you don't have firearms now and ammo now and a backpack with like a week's worth of clothes now,
get it.
You might not be ready.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me play this here. I'm going to play this on racism. I'm going to try to reconnect my camera once again.
All right.
And then, but yeah, stay tuned here. I'll play this and let's talk about
I'm here to
racism.
support President Trump. You want to know why I'm here to support President Trump? Because they done did black men like this for decades. Make up charges and put them, so I know Trump is innocent. I support Trump against this corrupt, two-tiered justice system. That's why I'm here to show my support as a black man for Trump. And I'm wearing my shirt, Niggas for Trump 2024, and I mean that.
What do you think about the indictments?
Oh, it's a bunch of bullshit. It's going around the country. Fannie Willis, she went to school with my sister. She full of shit. She was full of shit then. So she's a puppet for the white liberal that is controlling everything. She's in front, but the white liberal back there pulling those strings, telling her what to do. That's what I think about her, making a fool of herself.
Do you think it's going to help his election?
Of course it is. It's going to elevate him all the way. I think we should make Trump king. That's how I feel. We should make him king.
Wouldn't that be kind of like communistic?
No, that's nowhere near communist. No, we're just going to make him king, but we still got our freedoms and rights and everything. He for that. Yeah, Trump for king 2024.
That's actually my URL. I own that URL.
You own that URL?
Can I get your name?
Really? Oh, my name is Niggas for Trump 2024.
I can't
Derek
write that.
Gibson, a former,
That's my nigga.
Former
I can't write that on
candidate.
Twitter.
I'm a former candidate for New York State Governor. Derek Gibson, look me up.
What?
Nigga, I live up to it too, boy. I can scrap too, boy. I can get down, boy. Not better, I can. I got a proven track record. Oh, you want to try me out? Try to take this shirt off. I'll give you some.
Need everybody off the roadway.
Have you ever heard this president say one negative thing about white supremacists? Have you ever heard it?
I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke.
You wouldn't even condemn David Duke, for God's sake.
Well, you've got David Duke just joined, a bigot, a racist, a problem. I mean, this is not exactly the people you want in your party.
I got back in this race because what happened in Charlottesville. People coming out of the woods carrying torches, their veins bulging, and a young woman gets killed resisting the hate and violence, and the president gets asked to comment on it. What's he say? He says they're very fine people on both sides.
And you had some very bad people in that group, but you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups?
Neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. Racism is evil, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists. Condemn the evil of anti-Semitism and hate. Our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy. Be no tolerance for anti-Semitism in America or for any form of religious or racial hatred or prejudice. Must never ignore the vile poison of anti-Semitism or those who spread its venomous creed. How many times do I have to reject? I've rejected David Duke. I've rejected the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. From the time I'm 5 years old, I rejected them.
David Duke is saying to his supporters and followers, vote for Donald Trump. White supremacists are saying, do you want those votes?
No, I don't want them, and I don't want him to say it. I don't like any group of hate. Hate groups are not for me.
You've got David Duke just a bigot, a racist, a problem.
David Duke endorsement? Okay. All right. I disavow. Okay?
Let me be clear again. I condemn the KKK. I condemn all white supremacists. I condemn the Proud Boys.
Trump's campaign told CBS News this publication is repulsive and their views do not represent the tens of millions of Americans who are uniting behind our campaign.
I'm not looking
Would you repudiate David Duke?
Sure. When we looked at it and looked at the question, I disavowed David Duke. So I disavowed David Duke all weekend long on Facebook, on Twitter, and obviously it's never enough.
I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke, Ku Klux Klan, which obviously I'm going to disavow.
You want white supremacists to vote for you?
No, I don't. Not at all. How many times do I have to reject?
Love for America requires love for all of its people. When we open our hearts to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice, no place for bigotry, and no tolerance for hate.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm willing
prepared to
do specifically that, but do it?
Well,
I
go
would
ahead,
say
sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
He said it many times. We're talking about a guy, Joe Biden, who was with I think his name is Robert Byrd, I think, who was he's a KKK Grand Master. They're not, Chris Wallace is not bringing that up.
You want to call him?
And the Ku Klux Klan was founded by the Democrat Party.
Right.
You know, the Ku Klux Klan was the Democrats. They try to, say the parties flipped, but no. I mean, you have Albert Pike, the founder of the Ku Klux Klan, who is a Freemason. He's in all the Freemason temples that you go into. You got Albert Pike there, and he's the founder of the Ku Klux Klan, and he's a Democrat. Nothing has changed. The Democrats are the ones pushing racism and racial division, and they continue to use the straw man of trying to say, oh, yeah, Trump, you never disavowed David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan, and you just played the video. There's so many supercuts of him saying that from the past 20 years.
Yeah.
And how many times do you have to say, I feel like I'm going to be going through a similar thing. No matter how many times I put a swastika buster on my website, or if we make merchandise with the swastika buster, or no matter how many times I say we're anti-fascist, we have a lot of artwork over the years that show, like, I would take World War II propaganda for some of our posters, where it shows like women, dressed up like soldiers and stuff, and kicking the shit out of Nazis. And I would change the swastikas into the Bohemian Owls to show that it's the same thing. It's the same people. And also another thing about the Nazis is that part of the Nuremberg trials that we had after World War II, where we hung and we killed Nazis that were involved, as long as they weren't smart enough to come into our Operation Paperclip program and all that stuff. Part of Nuremberg outlawed National Socialism and Nazi ties to the United States. So that means we outlawed Nazis. It's not protected speech. It's not protected under the First Amendment. You can't be a Nazi and wear a swastika in the United States, because it's not because of hate speech. It's because of World War II. It's because of the Nuremberg Code. That it goes further than coercing people into, taking vaccines or anything like that. That's just a part of it. We outlawed Nazis. So all of these people are in violation of the Nuremberg Code.
Yep.
We can't have Nazis.
Well, I think
it's illegal.
I think the point is pretty much made on that. I mean, there's still another 10 minutes or so, but
why are they allowed? Why are these people allowed to go around and Heil Hitler and put up their arms and sig Heils and wear swastikas? Why is law enforcement not doing anything about it? Why are they saying it's protected speech now?
I would agree with that. It is freedom of speech. It is protected under the Constitution of this great.
But it's not, because that's what I'm saying. The Nuremberg Code superseded that after World War II.
That can never override the U.S. Constitution. It can never override what they put in the U.S. Constitution, in my view. And this is where lawyers would have to get involved.
So, yeah, I mean, because I think it's a point of contention, because I used to be a free speech absolutist, and I think I still am, because this falls outside of free speech. Because the same goes for, we had the Committee on Un-American Activities against the communists during the Cold War. That's fine with me too, because it's treason. There's a certain point that some messages and some political stances are anti-American to the point where it becomes a threat, which is treason. So, you can't say, oh, let's kill the president. That's not protected speech, because it's treason, and you will go to jail for seriously saying that.
Yeah, I mean, but you won't go to jail because of your speech. You go to jail because there's a crime involved. You're almost admitting to,
because you made a verbal threat. You could argue that wearing the swastika and heiling Hitler in the United States, when we were on the other side of that war, that is a threat to the United States and our rule of law by parading around. What if you have Vietnamese soldiers that are like, fuck you, we want a rematch, you have Iraqis wearing Iraqi uniforms on US soil saying, fuck you and fuck the troops, Al Qaeda was right. What if we have actual Al Qaeda and people walking around with Al Qaeda stuff? Is that protected speech? I don't think so, because it is because it's treason against the United States.
But we're not at war with them. First, I mean, that would be.
Are we not at war with them? Because the Azov Battalion and those Nazis over there, they're working against us, and yet we're giving them money, and these criminals are laundering it. And it is destroying the United States.
Based on all of that, where we're headed is, if we're pro-Russia, then we're going to be we're going to be the ones put in jail. If we say, hey, Russia has a right to defend themselves, those are going to be the people that want to put us in jail. They want to sacrifice. So for me, free speech, either we all have it or we don't have it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just think, we have to define, what free speech is and what free speech isn't. And I think, of course, it's a slippery slope. But my point is that if you have a message that is undermining the United States and the United States sovereignty, whether it's being pro-Nazi, which is a war that we fought and won, right? Or whether you're pro-communist or even socialist or Leninist or Maoist, that should not be. These are political ideologies that we have defeated and we are opposed to in this country.
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
we've had wars about it.
Yeah, if they're talking about it, right? It's a whole thing. Don't talk about it, do it. Like if you're going to talk about things, then that's one thing to talk about it. If they're taking actions against this country, that's pretty easy, right? We put them in jail.
Well, right. I mean, I would say, marching and promoting a message of destroying and other people, whether it's the left trying to destroy the right and censor and imprison and, plotting terrorist attacks. I mean, what they're using, what they're weaponizing against us, for example, that are pro-liberty, they're trying to make us into, oh, you guys are insurrectionists and you guys are trying to destroy the rule of law by blocking an election and things like that. Well, it's like, well, isn't it a RICO case? Isn't it racketeering and conspiracy for these organizations, whether they're on the left or the right, to be organized? Oh, you got a visitor.
Yeah, I got a few.
He says your podcast is over. But yeah, I mean, I would like people to comment on this, because we need to have a real conversation about, are we going to allow Nazis? When is enough enough? Are we going to allow the left wing to destroy things? When is enough enough? I mean, we have these cities that are burnt down. We have a drug epidemic. We have a homeless epidemic, all because of these Democrat policies that are failed, and they're destroying our cities in the United States. And now you've pushed the far right, so far right, and that now they're showing up, and then that's only going to radicalize the left and the right more, creating more of a divide. And isn't that destructive to our country? And if it is destructive to our country, at what point is it not harmless free speech, and is it actually causing harm to the people?
Yep.
So let us know what you think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's a great topic. Maybe this will be our next topic for the Dark Docs for the next Dark Doc show.
Yeah, it's going to be an ongoing conversation, because I get your point, and I was there once, but now that I'm in the middle of like what is a powder keg for a civil war here in the United States, straddling these two sides that both have valid arguments and both have arguments that are not valid, and they're not going to work together. We're not going to bridge this gap. They are so radical on both sides. There's a lot of us in the middle, and we are the majority, but these radical, left and right, we have to kind of meet in the middle on this.
Yeah, no, they're trying. No, I think you're right. The two radical sides are trying to get us to take one view on it. Like, oh, it's either or, and we're like, no, we're going to let's have a rational discussion. Let's talk about this and let's see where we agree with, where we disagree with. And that's what we're going to do, hopefully, on our next Dark Doc show. And I want to thank Christian Coffins and darkdocs.com. Always great to have you here. And hey, if anybody ever wants to join any of these live shows, this is how we operate. This is what we do here. And we try to keep freedom of speech going, and sometimes it is hard with platforms like YouTube, Facebook, et cetera. But, we're always going to try to do our best here. And we believe in this great country. I believe in this great world. I believe in God, the 10 commandments here. A lot of my fellow Christians may look at these 10 commandments and we may disagree on what they exactly mean. We may disagree on what freedom of speech. We may disagree on what, these issues mean, but we all understand and we all respect the freedom of speech. All Christians should respect the 10 commandments, even if they disagree with my interpretation on it. But this is where we need to have those conversations. And this is what I like about RFK Jr. This is what I like about Trump, because I really believe they are bringing people together. Whereas Christian was saying, you have these radicals on both sides here, and they're like, you got to choose a side. You got to choose a side. And we're like, no, I don't want to be on your side. I don't want to be on any side here. I'm on I'm on this. I've already chosen my side here. I've chosen my
Right.
side with Jesus Christ. My side is very,
It's
very
not
clear.
right and left. It's right and wrong. That's what, and it's interesting that, like, the right has that word. These are spells. It's not an accident that the right wing is, the right path, right? And then you have the left wing, which, what is the left path? The left path is the path of Satan. It is left behind. It goes on and on. These words are very symbolic, and the right is not right. The right wing isn't necessarily correct, but they are more based in reality, on a lot of different issues. But at the same time, they've been galvanized so much to hate anything that is anything left of center. While again they've been lied to about, there are socialist aspects to things that work pretty well in the United States, and but full socialism is a nightmare that can be proven in all socialist countries that are out there. Like, oh yeah, you get free healthcare, but the line in the emergency room is 2 days long, and then there's no way around it. At the same time, our healthcare system here in the United States is the worst part of capitalism, that is like totally corrupt, and everything, the prices are all gouged, and so that's not right either. So we do, we can meet in the middle on a lot of things, but I think we can all agree that insulting each other and calling each other derogatory, hateful, racist terms, whether you're Jewish or black, or whether whether you're gay, like, that's that's not the right way to go about things, is going around just like insulting each other. Whereas if we can just simply live and let live, as long as these people aren't hurting kids, is my thing. Like, it's like, if you're gay, that's fine. If can they adopt children? That's a conversation that needs to be had, especially if, like, a lot of them seem to be grooming children to be like, we're gay, everyone's gay, God is gay, so you're gay. And well, that's not okay either. So where do we draw these lines? Oh, but that's free speech. Oh, that's their right to have children, or adopt children. These kids are in orphanages. It's better for them to be with a gay couple than still be in the system, which is run by a bunch of scumbags and child traffickers and pedophiles, because that's the kind of jobs that those kinds of people get into in order to have access to children. They work for the school system, all these things. So it's like we have a lot of slippery slopes here, and where do we draw these lines? And that's the conversation the left and the right need to get together and have, where, like, I think we can all kind of meet in the middle on a certain way, and be separate but equal, not segregation. But some people, they're going to choose to be, I've heard that some of these white nationalists are working with black nationalists, black separatists, Black Lives Matter people, that, like, they are shaking hands and agreeing with the Nazis and the white nationalists, that we want to have our black community, you want to have your white community, and if there's an emergency, we can work together, but we're really not trying to have anything to do with each other otherwise. Like, so even within these extreme groups, they're starting to see, like, well, we don't want all this critical race theory, all of this transgender stuff being pushed into our schools. The black supremacists don't like it either. They're Christians, they're Catholics, they're Baptists, and they are against this, this queer agenda, the trans agenda, just as much as the white nationalists. So, like, all these people, like, no one's the devil here. There's people on the far left that, like, they think that they're fighting imperialists, capitalists, Nazis, and they are the last line of defense fighting the Death Star, where you have these white nationalists that are like, these Jews are behind everything. Hollywood is all Jews, and they're trying to, make everyone gay and cut off their genitals, and they're globalists, and they're all Jews. And like, there's some truth to that. There's a lot of Jews in Hollywood that are globalists and pushing this shit. But are they all Jewish? Is it a Jewish conspiracy? No, it's way more nuanced than that. But we need to have these conversations. So I think that's where free speech is important. That, like, you can't be censoring your opposition and don't let them talk. Like, no, let them talk. Let's have a conversation. But don't let them organize and like go on the streets wearing foreign nations' military gear in order to overthrow the United military, which is what the Antifa Black Bloc far left is doing, militarizing and organizing with a armed resistance against the U.S. government, which is treason. The same thing with the far right that are organizing in a military style, and they have arms and they're willing to overthrow the government. That's treason. We have to work with law enforcement. We have to work with the military and all of our patriots and constitutional oath keepers in law enforcement, in the military, in federal agencies, in order to stop the crime from happening. And then part of that is these radical fringe groups on both sides.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you very
They're
much.
only
my
1%
friend.
of us anyway. I mean, we can just crack down on them and put them behind bars, scare the rest of the ones wearing masks to be normies again. And, if you're a Nazi, keep that shit to yourself. If you're a commie, keep that shit to yourself, because it's treason.
Yeah. All right, my friend. Well, hey, thank you very much. I appreciate you joining me here, especially
always
on
a pleasure.
late notice. And I know we're going to do another Dark Docs show here, darkdocs.com. Please make sure to go there, and you will see a lot of great content that Christian has done. He is being censored. He has been censored, but you can see it is not stopping him. And he's not the only one. There are many great people that are out there that are going to continue to do the right thing, because guess what? It is the right thing to do. Christian, my friend, any final words here?
Yeah, it's something that just came to mind. So, like, I'm re-releasing a bunch of stuff. I'm putting stuff on vinyl. We have picture discs, color, clear vinyl records, lathe cut, one-of-a-kinds for Sacred Owls. I was wondering, I still have all the files and stuff for False Flags from Greg Fernandez Jr. Do you want to release that on CD and vinyl so we can put it up on the shop?
Oh my goodness, I would love to. I actually looked into some of the vinyl things, and it's like, hey, I got a couple cool songs, some of my last music. I haven't made music since I had kids, but some of my last songs. Hey, I'd love to just have 4 songs on one side, 4 on the other side. And I started prices like, this is crazy, some of these prices. So yes.
It's very expensive, and that's why we use Kunaki. Full disclosure, check out, we have no affiliation or anything, but I've been using them for several years now. Kunaki.com is a robot in Nevada, and it makes, someone operates it, of course, but like it makes DVDs, Blu-ray discs, CDs, and now it does a small run, one-of-a-kind vinyl. They're lathe cut, so these are each record is cut individually with a lathe on acrylic. So the grooves are really thick. It's high quality. They're one of a kind. It's not like we have a mold and we print a bunch of vinyl. Each picture disc has full color on front and the back side. It comes with a full color sleeve and a dust jacket. We get them for $25. We sell them for $35. Each one is signed, comes with a poster, so we make very little profit. But the nice thing about it is we don't have to spend thousands of dollars to have a bunch of vinyl printed and then have a bunch of boxes of inventory. When you order a vinyl record from us, we're ordering one sent directly to you. That's one of a kind. And same thing goes for the CDs, the DVDs, and the Blu-rays. They're all small run, so we can just order a couple copies at a time, or just order one copy from the printing plant sent directly to you. So it keeps the prices low, and that's why we're able to still have CDs, Blu-rays, DVDs for $8.99, and they come with a free poster. So you really can't beat these prices. We end up we pay about half of that for the printing and the shipping, so we're only getting about like $3-4 a copy for that stuff, $10 for the vinyl. But really, it's not about money so much. The money helps. Every little bit helps. With our servers and everything. It's the more traffic we get, the more expensive it is to have darkdocs.com up and running. We want your traffic, but we definitely need the support. And more importantly, we want you to have a copy of these films. We want you to have a copy of this music in order to share it with other people, or when they take away the internet, because I honestly think that's a possibility in the near future. When they finally shut down our website, you have a copy of this stuff. And same goes for our thumb drives, our projectors, and our media players that have micro SD cards preloaded. They're a terabyte, and they have all the movies, all the PDFs, podcasts, music, everything. So that way you can go and project it on the side of a building. You can have your little media player and you're like, oh, look at this crazy clip, and share it with people. Give it away as a gift to somebody that if you want someone to watch all these movies, but they don't have the time, but they commute to work, or they're on the bus or whatever, on a regular basis. They like riding bike. These little media players give them the possibility to just put in some headphones and then just watch a documentary while they're waiting in a waiting room or whatever. It's offline. You don't need the internet. And you have these files, these movies, these videos, this music forever. It's yours. You can take it, plug it into a computer, and make a copy to give to somebody else. This is information warfare. That's how we share this information. So definitely check out those new products. And, the money goes straight back into the operation to make more T-shirts, make more of this stuff, make new films. There's a bunch of ideas for films we have on the back burner simply because I don't have the time to make them because I'm out working elsewhere in order to make money to pay my bills. But if you guys support us more and share our content and we get more traffic and more sales, I can make more content for you guys. I can start paying our staff. Because they don't make money, I don't make money. We're really at a shoestring budget right now. We're maybe making $30-40 a month. That's it. It's because of the censorship, because of the demonetization, because of all of the shadow banning. We're not getting the traffic that we would be getting if we weren't being censored. So if you like what we do, please consider checking out the store. You're just making a donation. You can go to cash.up/darkdocs. You can Zelle 321-460-7198. That's 321-460-7198. That's my cell phone number. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm happy to come onto your pod together with new people. We need new blood. We need the numbers. We need to unite with people on the left and the right and everything. If you disagree with what we're saying, I'm happy to come on your show and be polite and talk to each other and try to sort this out because we're in trouble here. Thank you so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure. And beware, take care.
Thank you, my brother. Always nice to have you on. Definitely going to get you back on soon. And I will be in touch because after what you said about the whole vinyl thing, yes,
yeah, I'm going to send you one of those records. You're going to love. This is a great product.
Yeah,
you're going to love having this picture disc of False Flags. I'm going to start working on that next week.
And then maybe we can talk about my last project because my final music project that I did, I never really did any distribution. It hasn't been on a CD, a physical CD. And I would love to talk to you more about getting that onto a CD and onto vinyl. We'll talk about that very soon, my brother, for sure.
Sounds good. Exciting stuff.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me and God bless you all. And until next time, thank you for all of your
Death to the New World Order.
Until next time.